All right. Anybody want to make any changes or amendments to the agenda?
Yep, there's a few things we need to add. Okay, there's a question about the knotweed removal by the MBTA. There is a handout on the Coastal Advisory Committee membership and how we're doing recruiting people for that. There was some tree cutting up on the Damon property off of Clapp Road. And there is a scout that has a kayak project that he's proposing off of Bailey's Causeway. Hold on one second, let me just make sure that's it. And that is it.
So accept change in the agenda for those pieces. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So, Pat, you said you wanted to do Lot 2 Peggotty Beach first?
Right, so it's actually Peggotty Beach and Inner Harbor Road. It's just a quick update on what's going on so that people aren't waiting around for the night. There was a discussion between the Board of Selectmen, residents, and our department about what could take place up there. They put a hold on any planting and any fence placement, and everything is kind of like staying the way it is right now. There's some plants that will need to be planted or they're going to die, and the selectmen are talking it over, and they may have an answer on that. But as far as...
How much shelf life do they have?
I don't know. It's getting toward the end, though. But I think that...
This is beach grass?
Beach grass, yep. And I think with... before anything can go forward, the selectmen want to decide if there's enough access way for the public to walk down the beach. So that's the main concern. The future of what's going to go on out there is going to require a new filing of a notice of intent, and, you know, with engineered plans. And the town will have to be party to that permit because we own the property that it's on. So that's kind of where it is. But as far as what's happening this week out there, it's on hold. And I don't know if there's going to be an update within the next few days, but we just want to let the Peggotty people know what we know.
Who's filing the NOI, Pat?
The town would have to sign in on it, but I think Inner Harbor Road residents have the current order of conditions, so they may be interested in helping with dune, creation out there, beach nourishment.
Okay.
So.
Is there anything we should do? I don't know how much beach grass is hanging around. Is there any other place we can get them to plant that, just so it doesn't...
That's, if the vote is okay to do additional planting out there, we can go out and find a place that won't cause concern for any parties.
I mean, I gotta believe there's somewhere in town.
Right, in that area. I mean, if we could do it right on.
Did we purchase it? Did the town purchase?
There was I think it was a joint effort. I think the town purchased some, and then I think the residents kicked in some money too. Some of it was fence, some of it was seagrass.
How much are we talking about, do you know? I mean, the fence will be there whenever, but the seagrass, it's a shame.
Yeah, I heard $500, but that may not be
It's even
correct.
more.
It's more.
Yeah. It's probably 35, 40 bundles.
Really?
It's not looking that good because we've been on hold so long. The grass quality's really going downhill.
Can it be watered some or anything to keep it for a little? I know that's kind of critical when it's...
We had planned on April 11th, we had the community day, and there were plenty of people to plant it, and everything was put on hold. So since then, we've been told not to do anything with it, and it's dying.
I mean, there may be an answer before the 14th, but at the Board of Selectmen meeting on September 14th, there is going to be a discussion about Peggotty Beach, Inner Harbor, and it's on the agenda. That's a Wednesday night, I believe.
Week. Oh, that's a shame.
Okay, so that's the
Okay.
Peggotty update.
Anybody else want to comment on that or questions? Okay.
And then on the, there's an ORAD, Order Resource Area Delineation, that was issued for the Toll Brothers Goulston Proving Ground property. And at the time it was issued last year, there was an area that was open for discussion because it could have been a vernal pool, and we had to wait till the springtime to determine that. So we had wetland scientists from the property applicants and from representing the town, and there was a vernal pool found at the Irving Road end, and the applicants agreed to certify that and flag it for us. So we'll be getting a revised plan when they submit their notice of intent, and that'll be a resource area that's on there. The second area, which was closer to the concrete foundation that was closer to Hatherley and, is it Ermine?
C area, there's K and C. So I think K is the area that we determined is a vernal pool.
Oh, yeah, good question, yeah.
And C is the area that we questioned last
Right.
year.
And it turns out doesn't hold enough water to serve as a vernal pool, so we're taking that out of the discussion. That would just be a bordering vegetated wetland area. And I think they asked that we move on this so that they can get going with their notice of intent. And since we promoted it as a request to review a revised plan, we can take a vote on that tonight.
Okay. And you said they're going to certify it as a vernal pool?
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
as part of the filing of the notice of intent, the next plan will have that certification on it.
Okay.
Yeah. But the C-Series obviously is not, and we want closure on that this evening if possible.
That sounds like a reasonable request.
I mean, we had a site visit with a few members. Richard, myself was there,
Site visits.
and a couple of site visits. And we were there with our consultant as well, and everybody got a chance to look around. But Area C Area C was bone dry. There's some skunk cabbage and
Nice.
things that would be in a wetland, but not for a vernal pool. But the other one, they found some eggs while we were out there, and it's good. We appreciate, it's probably an exercise that we needed to go through.
Right.
That's what the process is about.
But with that should conclude the ORAD. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to, any questions or comments towards that? Okay. So do we want to take a formal vote to
Yeah.
accept that?
The revisions to the plan to identify the vernal pool area on the ORAD.
Okay. We have a motion for that?
Motion to accept the revisions to the ORAD plan, as just specified, that there is a vernal pool at the Irving Road or Area K, and that it is only a BVW in Area C, not a vernal pool.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that's just the first step in,
And sorry about that. Before we head out, Mark tells me that that's actually an isolated wetland, not a BVW.
Okay, yeah,
Area C.
that's right,
Yeah.
okay.
IVW.
If that matters at all, that you guys could just make sure that vote reflects that. It'd be great.
Okay,
Isolated wetland, yes.
Nice
Yeah.
as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
right.
Great.
They sort of get blurred sometimes when you look at enough of them.
I know. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat, so we have some administrative things, we have some RDAs, we can move on.
Yeah, we talked about a 620 possibility of 5 Irving Road, which is one that was in before us informally. We visited it, and Michael Lesher is here
Okay.
along the river.
There's two notice of intents, if anybody's here for them. The Fippen Trust 35 Dreamwall Road, that's going to be continued? We could actually continue that one right now.
Right, and if anybody has any questions on why, we could answer the questions.
So, make a motion to continue.
Motion to continue 35 Dreamwall until what, next meeting?
May 20th.
May 20.
Until May 20th at, it would look like 6:40,
What have you got now for time?
6:30 for Stewart. Nothing else for time.
What's Stewart?
It's been on hold for a while as a zoning issue has to get,
Kind of lump them together. I don't think that's going to go
Yeah,
anywhere.
because then we sit here
Okay,
when one gets confused.
Stewart's off of 3A.
right.
Okay, second the motion to continue.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're saying at 6:40?
6:30. 6:30.
6:30.
Thank you.
Okay, we got to wait on the other one. So, what was it?
RDA for 5 Irving on Humrock.
Okay. Is that Saran? Savani? Let's see. On May 6, 2015, during the 6:15 PM meeting in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Thomas Savarni for a determination of applicability to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to replace retaining wall and fence, plant shoreline and shoreline specs, and resod lawn on property located at 5 Irving Street, Humrock. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
I'm representing Tom Savani, Mike Lesher from Landscape by J. Michael. Basically, along the riverfront, there is an existing fence and boards holding back the soil. And pretty much the boards, everything's just eroding. You step along there, it's collapsing. So we proposed of putting in a segmented wall, concrete block, a Teco block wall, to help shore up that side of the property. And the existing height of the wall is 18 inches. We're proposing a visible height of 18, but going down into the soil about 12 inches, just because we need a base, a stronger base. The high water mark as of July 2011, when the property was surveyed, doesn't quite reach up to that area anyways. So, you know, we planned on, when any type of work being performed, putting a silt fence in along the river area and protecting it. What else was there? And then as part of the work, he wanted to, you know, resod his lawn, get his lawn back into shape, and also do some planting on the east side of the property line where it's shown brown, a planting bed right there.
Do we have any other sections, Mike, or anything? I have this plan, like showing what that wall is.
I can show you what the wall looks like through a catalog, but that's about it.
There is no wall now, correct?
No, correct. It's just 2 by 12s or something like that.
It's like railroad ties. We were out there. We
Yeah, I thought it
took
was
that.
maybe, I didn't remember it being that high, though.
No, I was just there today. I don't remember
Yeah.
it being that high either.
I measured it from the, this corner here. That was the highest. And then down here, it's probably like 12. So it's gonna be that. We're gonna follow the same grade. But that was the high point.
Pat, what are the issues with putting cement in that area? Or is there?
Well, I think it was railroad tie with, you know, who knows what kind of treatment on it that was rotting out, and it would seem like it's not going to be getting any force waves, it's not in a velocity zone, so as long as it's not a petroleum-based type of material, it seemed like it would hold the lawn in place, and it was better than what is there now, and it's pretty much the same dimensions.
Is there a fence going on top of that wall, Mike?
There's an existing picket fence, and he just wanted to kind of replicate that. That's going to be done by Armstrong, but we put it in our drawing.
Sure.
So.
Okay. Richard?
No, they were just before us last year, I think, for some other renovations. They've done a really nice job, I must say, on those.
Exactly.
I have more of a question, actually, about why you want to replace the lawn, which looks pretty good today. But, no, I don't have any...
Salesman.
Yeah.
But, no questions on the wall.
Yeah, no, they're replacing the wall, and stone will be better than pressure treating because it won't leach into the river or...
Okay. Lisa? Pat?
The only other thing was they replaced a driveway. They put gravel down for the driveway in the past too, so they reduced the amount of impervious, and I think it's an improved site, so.
They did a nice job, honestly, nice job.
Anybody in the audience want to speak to that? Is that a -2? Or
3.
3.
Motion for a -3 at 5 Irving Road.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate their efforts.
Yeah, I could just say, the one reason the Dreamwald project has been put on hold with the approval of the applicant was that it was hard to determine whether it was a vernal pool or not. There were a number of people out there walking it, and Brad Holmes has agreed to go out there at the beginning of next week. So this was even one additional visit that we were hoping would take place. So he'll have an answer by Monday. We can put this on for the next meeting. And John Chessay's planning to do the stormwater revisions, but he can't do them until we say one way or the other on the vernal pool.
Will we have some interaction with him, Pat? Have you discussed that with Laura?
Yeah, because it's almost like a subdivision. It's 3 lots, so, we talked about meeting with Laura on that.
All right.
Right, especially as if there's any mitigation plantings or buffer that we'd like to create where the lawn is now.
I went by it a few times, and there's plenty
yeah.
of peepers, but
Right,
couldn't find any wood frogs, and Pat and Tom,
Liddy, yeah.
Liddy and myself spent quite a bit of time roaming around there, but it's a classic
It looks like one, yeah.
characteristics of a vernal pool, but minus some inhabitants, so. So, we still, that's not,
I could bring up a
we
couple
can,
of...
well, we can do another RDA. Stacy,
What number would that be? What address?
82 Lighthouse?
That one has to be later. They're coming later. I could just give you an update on a couple of the, like Candlewood, 31 Candlewood. We spoke with the property owner, and we're going to have him work with yet another wetland person to establish the line, and it's, the last person never finished the report, so we'll have a report, and we'll have one last look at this, and then it goes to court. So, but
That's too bad about Mr. Hewitson.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a consultant that's, Pat contacted him to look at a couple of things. He said he just wasn't up to it, which is a shame, because...
Yeah, he's in his 80s. He's out doing a lot of heavy work, but he's been sick the last few weeks, so.
Okay, well, we'll
And, yeah, and then,
try John with that one, huh?
yeah, no, we have,
We don't need to continue that, right? That's just...
right, that's, right. He just wanted to find out where we left off, and I said, the last letter that you received, it's the exact same situation now, so.
Okay,
So we probably will have the wetland person do the visit first before we go out there and have him stake it.
okay.
This one's going to get closed out someday.
I was just going to say, the last Concom member to deal with that hasn't been born yet.
I'm the 4th agent, I know that, so. Glades Marsh, I spoke with Martha Reinhardt on that. They're going to be filing a notice to see if mosquito control could come in and clear maybe a new channel that allows that marsh to get some flushing. So they're going to file, and it has to go through 4 state agencies, a federal agency, and us. So that'll be starting. She's going to get
Oh,
that
don't
in.
they have another site visit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
It'd be warmer now.
yeah.
They're pretty sociable.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, so that's, that, and what
Spot.
they're trying to close out the old enforcement order. And I think we were satisfied that, what was done to correct it is probably the best that can be done, because it washes in there every day.
Sure.
But I'll have to run it by Natural Heritage and one other group, Audubon, and, because they have the bird activity starting up. So if they're okay with it being closed out, and then waiting for the new notice of intent, then we can close it out.
So is there a channel that functions right now, at least for mosquito control this summer?
Not really.
So can they do a channel this summer?
Yeah, they were given the opportunity to go out in a couple of dates in April with supervision, because that's after the beginning of the bird date. So they were going to try to make it as good as they can to at least get a little flushing in there. But I think long-term it needs to be a new route for the channel, so.
All right. Maybe just, we got about 2 more minutes, so I can just, a couple of quick things. I know that Richard sent me an email, the Ship Shape Day that went on Saturday, looked like it went fantastic around town. We had gotten several calls from folks concerned about the area between 7th Ave and 10th Ave in that marsh area, and a poor scout jumped to the occasion and took it on as a life project. It probably should have been an eagle. But they pulled out, literally the DPW had to send a backhoe and a 10-wheeler to load the amount
Really?
of stuff, and they still don't have it all.
Wow.
There's still another whole pile. I mean, there was 3 or 4 refrigerators, TVs.
Wow.
Half a dozen sets of stairs, picnic tables, not to mention loads of trash.
Are they done now? They did their one day, or?
For that project,
Yeah.
he's done, but we've got some others that are interested, and both with Eagle and Lifeline, so.
I think that's a good use of the Scouts, rather than the Driftway pickup where...
Well, you know, they had done a nice job there a year ago, but this one, you know, that was pretty much in order, and I threw it out to him, and he took it. He probably had about 8 other scouts helping him, and some of their parents, and one of them had a truck that was, there's still the remnants of 8th Ave. It was like started to be filled, but never built.
Wow.
So you could actually back out there, load the truck, and then haul it out to the street. And there's still a big pile back at the end of 8th Ave that's gonna have to get picked up. The stuff was so heavy, they just dragged it to there, and, but I talked with Mike Breen, and he was real helpful. We chatted on, during Ship
good.
Shape Day, and then he had the hockey team somewhere else
Yeah.
doing a pickup, so, you know, along with everybody, you couldn't duplicate all those man-hours. It's incredible, but those poor guys probably have a week's worth of running around town.
More. 2 or 3.
I bet. Yeah, it's amazing.
Is Ship Shape Day over?
It was one day, Saturday.
Pickup?
Well, pickup can,
Pickup hasn't happened.
they get into it. People have piled stuff on the sides of the road, and they're working their way along.
That's great.
The piles are building in Hemlock.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
The piles, the longer you keep them there, the
The more,
The other day, there was a guy with a truck unloading all sorts of stuff, and I just knew what was happening.
That was why they
Get
had bonfires.
get his number, yeah.
That's right, that's why we get bonfires.
well,
It is building down there.
yeah, we hopefully people don't abuse it too much, because it's a great project, and it saves, you couldn't hire that many people to do all that work that day. It's amazing. And not just those guys, but all over town.
So it's ongoing for pickup.
Yeah. Maybe Sean would probably know better than I, but I gotta believe they got the,
Yeah, we
what are you gonna do with all of it?
talked to Mike this morning. We're handling it at the transfer station.
Wow.
But Mike did say be patient, his guys are out every day. Some emergencies have come up where they've needed the equipment, so that's left them to just picking up the bags at this point. He knows there are bags in the neighborhoods and
Stairs.
things like that. Some of it needs equipment to pick up, so that takes a little more coordinating with a
Sure.
dump truck, 10-wheeler,
They'll clean up your end.
piece of equipment, but they will continue.
That's great. Yeah, good effort by everybody, that's for sure. You wanna do, we get folks here for the DPW GZA Central Ave?
Yep.
Okay.
Just me, I'm sure.
You're a lucky
Get for
guy.
that.
Are you the DPW?
Yes.
Great.
Why isn't your boss here?
Welcome.
Just, ma'am, so what we do is, we'll have, Sean will do his presentation, and then when he's done with his presentation, then the committee members can ask some questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Sean McCarthy with the Department of Public Works Engineering Division. We've continued this hearing a few times. It is a notice of intent to handle storm cleanup on Central Ave during the emergency, if I can call them hours, the immediate opening of the roadway after the weather has blocked the roadway for emergency vehicles. There's been some concerns, and we've, stepped back and looked at some comments that the neighbors on Central Ave have had, and every storm is going to be different, and I think this past year was extreme, that's for sure. And some storms are going to create less washover than others, and the ability to excavate the material from the roadway and bring it to the north end of Central Ave, where we've had permission in the past from the Commission and DEP to deposit it. We'd like to continue with that without creating the piles on the sides of the roadway. We'd also like to create trenching if necessary to alleviate water that does make its way to the roadway to the north end of Central Ave past 271, I believe, which is where the trench exists now to alleviate the water when it does flood. So basically, I just want to contain the notice of intent to the emergency situation, and I think we've come together to set up guidelines on how the DPW responds and reacts during the storm event. I don't want to extend this into how we clean up the area a month later or 2 months later, but I think over the years, the DPW's handled it in different ways, and it's starting to make its way westward to the marsh. So we've resolved some issues about stacking any material to the west. It's been stacking it to the right, and we'd like to less the stacking on the right and move it to the north end where we have the beach access, where we deposited it this spring. So I'd like to confine it to that. When the piles do exist, we're going to start creating cuts within the piles to allow the water to make its way to the roadway and not back up onto the residential properties that front on the beach. That water backing up was creating some disturbances on the private properties because it couldn't get to the roadway. And since we're looking for permission to trench on the marsh side to alleviate the water, we want the water to get to the street so that it can drain without backing up. So we're proposing to set up meetings both with the DPW and the contractors we use in the area, so everybody knows what their responsibilities are down there, and everybody knows where the material can and can't go.
You know what I just realized, though? Lisa, did you recluse yourself from this?
I am. I'm just Carol right now. I'm just typing.
All right, but we're not going to be able to take a vote on this.
Oh, that's right. Where's Bill?
We can hear it, but...
We need 4 for...
And whoever is missing is going to have to get versed in...
Right.
Is it okay if I stay?
Oh, yeah, you're fine to
As a
take
commission-
notes and not comment.
Can I stay as a commission member?
Well, I think you already stepped out, so I think we should just... Am I right?
I know you did last time.
Yeah,
as well.
quorum is 4.
Yeah, so we're going to have to
removed
continue it
yourself,
for a vote.
For
You
a
can
vote.
make this
Oh, because of
presentation. We've got a lot of people in the room that I'm sure spent time to
Yeah.
get here.
Right.
So I think we'll continue. Whoever is missing tonight,
Can catch up,
can
read
catch
in the
up.
notes.
Look at the notes and, watch it on TV. And we'll keep going. But I just, all of a sudden,
That's right.
I was thinking we had the 4 of us, but we don't on that, okay? Anything else you want to? So, since both you guys are from Humrock, you should be pretty well. Richard, do you want to start?
I just want to make sure I understand, Sean. There's not going to be any materials put on the riverside of the road.
Correct.
There's going to be less material put on the ocean side of the road with some breaks so that the water can go through to the cuts that we've discussed in previous meetings.
Correct.
Is there already more than one cut now that has already been made? It seems to me.
On the west side, on the
On the
river
west side,
side?
yes, going through to the river.
I think there is one to the south, between private properties.
I can answer that accurately. Paper Street C was the one that you guys had cut. That was north of 271, Duffy's house.
See.
Then south of Duffy's house is Paper Street that has been naturally draining, and it works out well because that street tilts west, whereas the one that you guys had cut tilts east, so that really doesn't drain over there.
How about you just tell us where the cuts are?
Oh, okay. And then the next... Paper
Since you're
Street-
really not supposed to be part of
No,
that.
I'm talking as a homeowner.
Oh, okay.
Vote, yeah, she's not gonna vote.
Not as this. And then the next Paper Street D also drains west. The street street tilts west, and that has naturally been working.
So they're natural low spots.
Yeah.
We'd like to maintain
Yeah.
them.
However, the observation I have made is, with them draining, the road erodes away. Is there any way of putting some kind of support or a conduit underneath so as it washes, it doesn't take the road with it?
We certainly can look at it, especially this time of year. It's much nicer to walk around down there now and
Yes, it is.
kick these ideas around. That's for sure.
Now that the resident has chipped in, she is absolutely correct. There are several areas where the road is falling into the west side.
Because it's losing sediment from the sides?
Yeah, it's being under, the sand is coming from underneath. There are some areas even in South Humrock that's way, but we're addressing this one, so.
Gotcha.
Okay, so yes, and that's the end of my questions.
Okay, Paul?
No questions. I like that you guys are trying to minimize the stuff piled on people's property and move it back out to the beach.
At least up to the north part, where we have permission. I mean, ultimately, we'd love easements all up and down, and maybe that policy would change if people supported that easements, even if it was in a large group. Of course we can.
That would allow you to get material back to the beach quicker.
Sure, if the Board of Selectmen and Conservation Commission, everybody was on board with that if they wanted to.
Isn't there also access by a sea view going out to the beach from there?
There is an opening in the wall there. I haven't accessed
There's been a lot of access
there.
going there, whether it's private or DPW, I wasn't sure.
I know, is it Atlantic?
Yes.
That
It's at
runs
the end of
there,
Atlantic,
which is private. I did see private contractors working up there when we were cleaning the roadway this spring, but I haven't researched the ownership of the opening. Certainly something I can look into, yeah. Any alternatives at this point, yeah.
I'm not sure about the ownership. There was a house there back in '91 that was washed away and nothing's ever been rebuilt, so I don't know who actually owns it.
Could still have title to someone else, sure. That's Seaview?
Seaview goes from Central out to Atlantic, and then there's no
Atlantic.
wall there, and
Right.
there's been a lot that has been put out there. But again, I'm not sure whether it was private or not.
Look into
The
it.
house that's next to that is 178 Central. It's 178 Central, then the road, and then it's Atlantic.
And it also borders actually something that's on our agenda tonight, 46 Atlantic Drive. It's right next to that.
Pat, do you want to jump in?
Well, I was just going to say, at the last meeting, a couple of things came up, and one was the paper street areas that we were anticipating would be the good drainage areas may not be the best. The people in the neighborhood said those aren't the natural areas, so we've gotten away from that. We've looked at, looking at the low points and where it makes sense to drain it, where the flooding is, and not impacting somebody's property on the west side of Central. So that was one of the things that came up. The other thing that has just come up that Sean was talking about is when the wall is created on the ocean side of Central, where all the houses are, and that water hits there and floods the houses, we're talking about some way of making cuts all along there, so there'll be more drainage and less chance that the water's going to back up into houses. And I think that's going to take, some really looking at it. And the other thing is the contractor who gets the contract, whether it's Landers or one of the big companies next year, we're going to meet with them before the season even starts. We're going to go through this whole thing. We can't have 12-foot mounds in front of certain houses, and especially if there are people living there. And, just to let them know that this is all going to have to be cleaned up at some point, so the least we can impact the property owners, the better. And that's what we're going to be trying to do. We're still going to continue through conservation, issue the minor activities permits. So for people who want to keep their cobble and put it out in front of their houses, we'll allow that to be a really simple process, but we really ask that you notify us first, because we don't want you impacting a neighbor's house or running over a dune. But we're trying to make that as simple as we can. We have 60 minor activity permits out now, and most of them are in Humrock, so we're trying to do that. But other than that, I think we have a select person who's attended our meetings. She's bringing back all this input to the Board of Selectmen. The town administrator had another meeting tonight, but she's hearing from us and from the Board of Selectmen about the issues down there. And the final thing is that this is an emergency kind of stance we're taking with DPW. It affects everybody. We're also looking long-term. We have the people from Coastal Zone Management who look at what may work on your kind of beach over the long term. And we have the DEP, the head of the coastal DEP person involved in telling us what could be permitted and what couldn't be. I mean, we're looking at all sorts of things in the future, bringing in sand, cobble, whatever, to try to help this area. And there'll be a presentation on June 16th. And it started because of the needs of Hummerock, but it's gonna be at school auditorium, and it's gonna look at what are some of the coastal problems we're dealing with, and maybe the best way to deal with them from a scientific and from a DEP.
What was the
point
date
of
on
view.
that, Pat?
June 16th. It's a Tuesday night, and it's going to be in the auditorium. It'll be on the website.
The high school?
High school auditorium, and there's going to be, it'll be on the website, and Nancy Durfee's very involved in this, the coastal resource person, so she's got an email list from who was at this first meeting of this group, and she's going to send that out to people with an agenda, and we're going to try to get the coastal zone management people to give us an agenda, what they're thinking for a presentation, so.
May I add just a little bit to that, Pat, for all the residents, of our neighbors in Hummerock that are here, if you know of summer people that will be coming up in the next 3 or 4 weeks, this would be great if you would help let them know about this meeting. Some of them, it'll still be a little early. Some of them, a lot of them will be here by then. It would be good if they had their chance to be at that meeting, too.
I was just going to say to him about summer people, from at least 220, or actually before 220, around 200, all the way down to the cliff, there's at least 35 to 40 houses that are summer people, okay? And they are never notified about anything, and you always seem to have these meetings when they're not here. Those people won't be here on June 16th because the kids have school until the end of June because of all the snow days.
I don't think that's going to be the first, I don't think that's going to be the last
meeting.
But I'm just saying, I think that a letter should go out to all those people on that stretch.
Okay, thank you. Laura?
So we'll take that because we can use our assessor's office to utilize those addresses. So we'll try to promote this as much as possible. The reason why we chose June 16th, we wanted to get it before all the summer people came to speed up the process. So we hope to have multiple ones. This is just the first one and the earliest that we can get Rebecca down from Boston to talk to all of us.
So who'd like to comment on what they've heard so far? Gal McGreen?
I have...
And you want to state your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Jennifer Boyle. I live at 254 Central Ave. I have a couple quick things. Now that you have a fourth, can you guys vote this today?
This week, good. Lisa?
We wasn't there for the beginning of the meeting, so when there's a chance of an appeal, it's better to be safe and say, you know, he could have missed something important, so I would...
But
But for the next meeting, you can
watch the tape and then...
You're going to have, yeah, you and...
By the next meeting, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to get a couple of you guys to do that.
Yep.
Also, now I like Sean's plan about, you know, at least trying to get the stuff moved as it's happening. However, my question is this: what's going to happen once that area is full up by the cliff? Because it could take a number of years before we get, you know, easements in place to start putting the stuff back on the beach, you know, all along, which is how it should be. But in the meantime, that's going to fill up. If we have another storm like Juno, there's not going to be any more room. Then what?
Can I say, I live there by where they put the...
You ma'am, your name and address?
I'm Denise Robbins, 10 Cliff Road.
I give
Right
Lisa
next to
enough...
Beach Way.
Want to just give Lisa enough time to...
I'm sorry.
Get...
Thank you. Denise Robbins, 10 Cliff Road.
Thank you.
I'm right where you put all the stuff in. I'm the last private property that owns on the beach, and that's where they came through and deposited it all. It was within like a week to 10 days, it was all gone. And that's happened all the time. They deposited stuff there. I've lived there for 65 years now. And that's what's happened. When they were doing the big dig, they deposited tons of stuff there. It was gross stuff. It was brown and gross and dirty. But that all disappeared too after the first little...
Yeah, the wave act. It's just like,
Wave act.
like the sacrificial dune those people
Yeah.
built down
It was...
near
I mean, they weren't hauling stuff from the big dig down.
Oh,
It was-
I didn't know about that. No, but I meant, yeah, the same storms are gonna
Yeah.
take that dune away.
It
That-
takes it away very
Yeah.
quickly. It doesn't even have to be a huge storm. I
Mhm.
mean, just the high tides seem to bring it right away.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
and I lived there year-round, so we've watched it.
And I apologize.
Sure.
Final last thing. Sean, can you send somebody down to Central Ave with a bunch of metal plates to put a couple plates over the sinkhole, please?
Roughly, do you have an address, roughly?
It's just south of Lisa's house. So like
240, 240...
Oh, you can't.
232, 230.
We're gonna be repaving a large stretch of that area, probably in the next, I don't wanna say too early, 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, we'll give a little bit of leeway, but we really want to stick.
No, I know what you're saying, but she just said she popped a tire there.
Yeah,
And I know
you
every
can.
time I go over it, it's a little sketchy.
It's bad.
Okay.
Sean,
See if I can get those filled tomorrow.
how much are you gonna pay?
Well, you know what?
Entire roadway.
I really want to, we have, excuse me, we have other hearings tonight, so we want to address the issues with this one, and then other issues, you guys are going to have to talk to the DPW or, yes, ma'am.
Miss Boyd, I'm Diane Castellino, and I represent 230 Central Avenue. I live at 338 Central, but my family's house at 230 Central.
Okay.
And I am representing both my sons who own that house. And they just gave me permission to tell the DPW that they can take the stones when they're plowing down the street and go between Roach's house and our house, or Ackerboom's house and our house, and just put them right out on the beach. They don't have to go all the way down to the cliff to do it.
So I'm assuming,
That's on both sides of our house.
I'm assuming that that's going to have to be something they submit formally, that where the town can get
Who
it.
has to submit it?
Okay. I would assume that it'd be a good idea for you to send a letter to DPW, and then they can work towards formalizing it, Sean?
Correct, yes, we'd have to
Well,
generate an
I
easement.
sent a couple of emails out this week, and I wasn't happy about the town administrator's reply on why she wasn't going to be here tonight.
Yeah, well, she's...
Or the head of the DPW, but that's all right, you sound like a good guy. You know what you're doing.
Nice smile.
But I've lived on that beach 60 years, okay?
But he's Irish.
Perfect. I've lived on that beach 60 years, okay? And we've been fighting this sand dunes, riprap, cobble, everything. That sacrificial dune was a waste of $1 million. If you guys had put up riprap from the fourth cliff to the wall on Newell Street, okay, we wouldn't have all this washover into the river, into the marsh. You guys wouldn't be spending millions of
But
dollars.
so here's the-
plowing.
yeah.
Wait, let me finish.
Oh.
You wouldn't be spending millions of dollars plowing that street every single time we have a northeaster. And this has been going on for the past 40 years, okay? Because Keith Dobie led the charge when we were going to try to save Hummerock, all right? And I'll tell you, you guys just keep talking and talking and talking, and we're all going to be dead that know everything that's gone on that beach for all these years. And I'll tell you, I personally bought a house up on Fourth Cliff and didn't live in my mother and father's house, okay? So I wouldn't have to deal with all of what's going on. The mound was 50 feet across the whole lot, up at least 15 feet high, okay? And when the water hit that mound of sand and stone, that whoever pushed it there, the stones, lucky for us, pushed back underneath the house, and now all the stones have filled up. So now all our pilings are perfect. There's only 5 feet between the stones and the ceiling of the house. So our pilings are down 14 feet, so we don't have a problem with the pilings. But what I'm trying to say is, instead of them doing that, if they just put the stones right out on the beach, because we have a little bit of riprap to hold the sand and the stones right in front of the pilings, and that holds the sand and stones there. And instead of doing that and putting it on everybody's property, get the easements, like this lady said, and go out in between whatever houses, instead of spending all that money and time to go down to Fourth Cliff and dump it there. Dump it back in front of the people's house who want it there.
Well, that's the piece that we're working towards. We appreciate your concern. Just one of the reasons that they're going to have these additional meetings and they have people coming from the state, we don't make up all the rules that govern that beach. And it's a barrier beach, and it's a lot of the revetments or protection that are built are grandfathered. When you're on a barrier beach, building a revetment is a difficult process.
It is, except that all the rest of Scituate, first cliff, second cliff, third cliff are all protected.
If they're not
Fourth cliff is the only one that isn't.
If they're not a barrier beach, in the cases where there's a barrier beach, unless it was a revetment that was built before those rules and regulations, you won't be seeing a revetment unless the state decides to change those rules. And those are the kind of things that you need to talk to them about and see whether they will consider it. You have what they call an altered resource. It doesn't function the same anymore, but we have to follow the state guidelines. When you file for a permit, that permit also gets reviewed by the state, and the state's going to look at it to determine whether or not they feel that we've acted correctly. And we can't permit foreshore protection on a barrier beach that includes a revetment. We can do beach nourishment, there's certain things that we're allowed to permit, and there's things that we can't. You come to some of those meetings, you want to listen to the folks from the state explain their thoughts on...
I've done that for years.
Well, but that's the same problem that...
First time I've been here.
That's the same problem we have, and so in fairness to the town and the folks that, you seem a little critical of, they are trying to get the state involved. We know that there's going to be more problems. We know that there's more sea level rise, and that's why we're trying to get to that point.
And I can document that.
But it's not the flick of a switch.
I understand that, but the point is, we're going on since 1978, the storm of the century, and every time, okay, we have a little northeaster now, if the street's totally flooded, you can't get out over the sand zones, and then some ridiculous person said to put a bridge up across to get people off the Fourth Cliff. Whoever said that idea, I'll never know.
I think it was the Irish kid.
Not this.
We met with people. That was an emergency.
Keith Jansen, 148 Central Avenue. While not a full-time resident of Scituate, I am a full-time taxpayer. And having only been here 16 years, though, I can empathize with what everyone's saying, but at the same time, want to recognize the Conservation Commission as well as the selectmen for the efforts most recently, and it is appreciated. Pat, you referenced earlier today the Coastal Advisory Committee, which thank you for forwarding that to me, and Lisa and more, everybody has been. I personally am very interested in perhaps being part of that, because you're right, Diane, there's a lot of, oh my God, what if, and working with the state and working within the boundaries, whatever they are, is the only way to accomplish this thing, so appreciate the efforts. And
thank you.
And I have to say, this is the best conservation guy we've had in the past 40 years.
Let's try to keep them. Yes, sir.
I'm Bill Asta. I'm at 311 Central Ave.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Bill, A-S-T-A, Asta.
Thank you.
Past the split, past 271 Central. I totally concur that the rocks should go back on the beach, and when I first moved there, the rocks were going back on the beach and reinforcing the structures on the beach, not passing through the road into the marsh. However, going down to that part of Central Ave, past the split, is a public safety issue based upon the rocks that are filling up at that particular area that you were considering, Pat, removing a rock from the marsh, or the permit that you're seeking. And those paper streets, I believe they're A, B, and C. Or is it C? That's 271 Central Ave.
C.
See, and I have the lot, 3 acres on the left past that. So Street C is a huge public safety issue. It needs to be pulled out, all the rock that's in that marsh. It's built up beyond the level of the lady's house that's there right now that has a dock. She keeps putting stucco on her house, I'm not sure why. But the rock needs to be removed and taken out so that the water can drain in that area, and that older people and fires that we did incur at one time down in the area don't happen be a liability for the town.
Do you know where he's talking about, Sean?
I do.
271.
Yeah, just past Duffy.
Yep, 271.
When Duffy,
Those rocks need to be removed.
Yeah.
But now you're talking about creating a channel on the,
Well, one thing about that is the stuff that got plowed in that was above the natural level, I think we can scrape that back. Coastal zone in the state is saying what washes in there on the natural flooding of the storms, that's where it wants to go, and you're probably doing more damage scraping it out. I agree, though, if we've plowed, if somebody has plowed stuff on there, we should be able to get that, but I think the other stuff is gonna be moving that way, and, you know, I don't know if we can do much about that. I know what you mean, though, yeah.
Creating a ditch.
yes, ma'am.
Rosemary Boyle, 254 Central Ave. What Pat just said about those inlets, I guess you'd call them, that go into the river that's now all filled with rock over the last 20 years of having 3 or 4 nor'easters every year. You said the state will not let the town take the rock off of the marsh?
The damage to the marsh, if you drive any equipment on to drag the rocks off the marsh, they are saying that that could cause damage. If you need to do a flood relief kind of effort, you could dig a channel in, but, well, it would just be an open, it wouldn't be any pipe.
I would think,
Yeah.
logically, but of course, is there any logic left in this world, I wonder? If you had somebody from the state come down and look to see how high the rock is on that marsh side compared to the level of the street, it's creating a valley. The street is now a valley that gets clogged with water when it floods. And that is why everyone's basement or whatever is getting flooded, because there's no place for the water to flow out to the river, because the rock is 2, 3, some places 5 feet high. And that was not like that 20 years ago, because I can remember. It was a beautiful marsh, grass, flowers, everything. Now it's just, as far as you can see, rock and rubble. And it's very, very deep.
And
I
that's-
can't imagine anybody with any common sense would say, keep it the way it is. It's going into the river, which means you're going to have to dredge it again. But maybe that's what they want, I don't know.
I can't put a thought to finish on my last.
Sure.
Real quickly. The rock that's there now isn't all from coming over from the beach. A lot of it was plowed into that area. So that rock isn't there naturally. You know, and there's a stone wall in front of the lady's house there as well. It just blocks everything in there. I'm assuring you that this will be a liability issue for the town if that continues to fill. Because you won't get an emergency vehicle down there to save people, which is primarily an owner-occupied area down in that area. And I think that's a good idea, that we should have the state to come down there and live down there during a storm, to see if they can leave to get it.
That's part of tonight's permit, is they don't want us to touch the cobble that gets into the marsh.
The cobble was put there naturally.
But we want to be allowed to dig a channel to alleviate the water.
But the cobble that was put there naturally shouldn't be there. That was put there by landers.
Well,
I think what
that's
Pat's saying,
some of the guidelines
what
that we're
Pat's
trying to
saying,
set now.
if there's material that's placed by equipment, that can be removed. But if it's placed there naturally, then the state has you know...
There's a fine line between natural and how it was placed there. It was plowed there.
Right.
And it was in a big pile and it should have been back. And secondly, just real quickly,
Sure.
The cobble that's on in front of people's houses should go back in front of their houses.
Well, I don't think there's a disagreement on that. It's just how do we get it there and how we're going to pay for it, but...
All right. Finally, a guardrail would probably stop it on the riverside like it did up in Miss Cassie's area. You have a guardrail in front of your house?
yeah, what the guardrail helps to do is, it keeps people from being able to plow the cobble into the road, and it also collects, that way the water will run at the lower points and naturally drain into the river. Because people will park up there, and it'll cause a problem, but that keeps them out.
Okay.
I just, to get to that point about how the stone is getting into the marsh, they did, DPW and Coastal Zone did some overhead photos, and I can pass this around, but it shows area where there may not be seawalls here, and the natural flow is creating this rounded area out in the marsh. So it is kind of a natural thing that's happening. I'm not denying that, maybe down here there was some plowing done, and that shouldn't be happening, but some of these other areas, it's just going there. It's like the low point, and it's washing in there, so those
That's
are...
where the houses are on pilings. That's where the water's pushing
Right,
underneath.
right, underneath, right.
Underneath the house.
Right. That's a different issue, though, than someone plowing it there. It is getting
Split
there.
on Central and Cliff have been put there by the contractors.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's this
It's a
side
buildable lot.
versus,
Yeah.
the water has nowhere to go when it comes rushing down, the snow melts.
I'm sorry, sir, your name and...
Gene Line 310 Central. I'm a little bit after, the
Yeah.
second house after the
We
split.
need to meet with the
I'm sorry,
contractors
what
more than
number,
once, I
Sandro?
think.
310.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
I can pass.
Yeah, exactly. Because there was a number of times that I was stuck at home and had to walk out to get to work, that I talked to the contractors, and they like, I don't know, we haven't talked to anybody from the town. And that's honest, I'm not making it up. But he says, yeah, we talked to them yesterday, and I said, where you putting it? He said, oh, we're just gonna move it over here and do it over there. So you need those pre-meetings in September,
Yeah,
October,
yeah.
November,
Yeah.
before it happens.
Yep.
But
Because
that's
once
split.
a storm hits, it's an emergency, right,
Everyone's running
right.
around with their heads
Right,
chopped off,
right.
trying to get people out.
Right.
We're going to take a couple more comments, and then we do have to do some other things. Yes, ma'am.
If we get this motion passed...
I'm sorry, your name again?
Jennifer Boyle, 254 Central Ave. If we get this motion passed, either this meeting or the next meeting or whatever, and we do cut the paper streets, what you were saying about the state won't let us move the stuff that ends up there naturally, are we gonna be able to maintain the paper streets? Or are we literally gonna open them once, they're gonna get covered in rocks, and then we're back here again?
I think we're just talking about an opening to let the water drain. It's really not a maintenance of the street, it's just a trench.
Once we issue a set of orders, we can continue to keep those open.
Right.
Okay, so you
And that's
can
the
go
one-
Be
that's-
continuing
This
orders,
is one
yeah.
of the reasons that we're doing this, is right now, a lot of the activity that's being done is not permitted.
Okay.
So this is, it's a process. I know it's frustrating, but it's a process, and that's what the state wants.
No, they belong to the town.
We're doing what we can do. Yes, sir.
My name is Tom Hughes, I live at 32 Cliff Road. You mentioned that in those areas that we're talking about, that you can't build another abutment. Can't build a new one.
Right.
What about the old ones that are completely unraveled, like below 4th Cliff?
Sorry, I can't hear it.
Well, again, we're not, part of this meeting for tonight is the emergency piece, and I know that everybody wants to get to other issues, and that's what those meetings are for. What we're trying to do tonight is deal with the emergency cleanup and where that material's going to go and maintaining the ditches. I know that you folks have other issues and frustrations. It's not that it isn't important, but it's not part of this filing. This filing is for the storm cleanup and removing that. I'm not saying that you don't have other issues and there's other things that have to be done. I'm hopeful that through some of these other meetings, the town has hired Nancy Durfee, who's a great gal. She's working closely with Pat and with other town and with DPW to try to figure out, or at least start to work towards some other solutions, because we know it's important. And we're not unsympathetic to it, believe me. We can't wave a wand and say all those rules that the state has go away. So, but I think those things will come along. But tonight's hearing is the emergency cleanup and what to do with the material, not to push your side.
And that question, you can call our office about that one, and we can go through that specific site, and, I can tell you what's allowed permitting-wise.
I just want to
And,
ask my...
you just give my office a call.
Pat, about cleaning up the material, what do we have to do to get the easements and get a petition written to say that you can go between 230 and 232, or 228 and 230?
That came up, there were a few different residents, few other residents brought that up, Mr. Ackerblum and a couple other people, and it was a legal thing that if the town's equipment is passing between private properties, there's a liability, so it might be something the town council could look at, but if they're driving between private properties and it's a town worker and they're dumping stone on a beach and somebody gets hurt, there was a whole legal question. I mean, I think it makes sense, and we'd all like to see something like that.
We've been plowing the stones back every year.
Well, right, but that's your private contractors. that are doing, that's fine.
But why can't the town do that? Instead of piling it up in front of the house, just push it right onto the beach?
Yeah, it would be a legal thing, their liability for the town, it would be the
How
town,
can
you
we
know.
make it legal and get,
We can pass that question up, we can get that to town council, because I think that would be a great way to do it.
We'd rather,
While you're there,
we'd rather
just
see
do
the
it.
material dispersed as opposed to being one place.
so I just want to know how we start the initiative.
We can check with legal
It's
counsel.
an ownership issue. It's private property and it's public money doing the work.
But who would object is the question.
It doesn't have to do with that, it has to do with the benefit. And a private property benefit from a public money.
What about the liability of not having emergency vehicles be able to pass down?
No, that's a different issue.
That's why we're here, to clear the road.
But is it, what they're saying, Sean, if we're talking about getting the material that gets put out, deposited on the road, when the town's picking it up, right now they're dumping it off to the side.
Yep.
towards the beach side.
On private property.
If the town had permission, easements through these different properties to run that material out to the beach, would they be able to do that?
Yeah, I think it would be a change in policy if that's how they wanted to do
We're
it.
not talking about cleaning up their yard, all we're taking is the ability to take it.
The beach, road to the beach, like a snow farm. In the
But
city,
that-
they get a snow farm they rent and they dump snow there.
That private property benefits from the use of public money, right? That material is going to benefit that
town
piece of
benefits.
private property
because you're
by re-nourishing it.
We're gonna, excuse me, we're gonna do it one, let him answer, and
Do you know what I mean?
He's wrong.
Just like the seawalls. The seawalls, a lot of the seawalls in town are on private property, and easements were never taken for those.
yeah.
So for there to be public money spent on private property, for the benefit of private property, there needs to be a benefit to the public. So, the properties in Hummerock extend, a lot of them, and you have to research it deed by deed, go to the mean low water table, which means the beach is privately owned. So in order for us to provide a public benefit to that beach, you have to relinquish the private rights of the beach to the public for use, other than fishing, fouling, or
Stones and
navigating.
rocks onto our private property anyway.
But they're two different issues.
They're not.
Okay.
The benefit to the town would be is that the road would stay open and it wouldn't be destroyed and it wouldn't be filling the marsh. The beach that came, the rocks that were in question came off the beach in front of the houses.
Right. There may be parts of this that I don't understand. I mean,
Right away of the town. There's an 8-foot right of way in the town, as the engineer who was last year.
I'm gonna give this to Rosemary.
Assuming you're finishing up now, would you take 1 minute to explain the minor activities permit while you have an audience?
All right, let's just wrap up a couple of things here. So I think we will consider the possibility, or we'll request the DPW to consider the possibility of depositing those stones in different areas. I mean, we could allow it, but whether they can physically do it or legally do it is another question. I mean, we can make that part of our...
And we'd like a group of
Except we have to be
homes
careful.
as well. We don't want to pick and choose.
I understand. The other problem is, when we have a hearing, we're supposed to name all the parties that are involved in the process. When we do an order of conditions, anybody that's affected by that should have been part of that filing. So it's the town of Scituate doing a filing. I mean, you were all notified, but the work wasn't on your property. This work that we're talking about, can be corrected, is to take the rocks from the street,
the public layout,
and basically deposit them all
Open the
onto the
roadway.
side so that they're on people's property. If they choose to take them and put them back or whatever, they can do that.
The larger storms may have encroached on private property.
Right. But those stones, people they can, at their own expense, take that stone
Absolutely.
and put it back on the beach. The excess stone that you have, you're gonna haul it to the base of Fourth Cliff?
Because we've gotten approval from the commission and the state as a spot to place it.
Right.
And let nature spread it.
Okay. And the question still remains as to whether the town has the legal right to go between people's homes and deposit that stone.
Right.
Okay.
I'll look into that part of it.
All right, we can find out, but,
I have pictures to prove to you.
okay,
Let me just ask one question, please.
sure.
Okay. Sean, I want to make this as painless as possible. So my understanding is that the reason the town won't return the stones between the houses back to the beach is because it's a private beach rather than a public beach.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. And you drive it down north to go to Beachway and then go north along Fourth Cliff because that's owned by the government. So that's public.
Correct.
Okay. Is the concern of the town the liability of being sued? Because I actually did contact a friend of mine who was an attorney to find out, could something be drawn up, a storm easement that would protect the town for going through to returning it, because if they could deposit it, like between houses that have big spaces, I'm not saying spread it along everybody, even if they just throw it back onto the beach, it's costing the town less money because it's not falling back in, and then going into the marsh, choking out the marsh, people are plowing it into there. And the attorney said that the town would be protected because you're signing over an easement saying it's a storm. The town can go over there if something does happen. They're not liable. And, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I even said to the poor guys, as I'm watching them, those roads couldn't be cleaned because there was so much sand and cobble at Fourth Cliff and Beachway, it was so high. They couldn't put any more. The roads weren't being cleared, they were still flooded, people were trapped in their houses because we were waiting for the storm to take the sand and cobble off that mound to return more. That doesn't make sense. From an emergency point of view, I know several people that are very sick down there, and their lives could be compromised because an emergency vehicle couldn't get there, all because we're waiting for those storms to take the stones away to keep the cleaning process.
And that's why a lot of it ended up in larger piles along the edge of the road. And I agree with you, some modifications, I think, need to be made with how they take it from the roadway to that beachway.
Right.
And put it farther out so they're not obstructing the ability for them to get rid of
So
material.
my next question, following that same train of thought, is the town can't return it back to the beach because the beach is private, but the land that the town is not just piling it once on an emergency to clear the road, but they continue to pile it and pile it and pile it, is on private property. I found out the lot across from me had a land surveyor. They were doing it for a dock. And I watched them sweeping by the telephone pole in front of my house, and I walked out, and they were walking around my house. I said, I didn't think my land was being surveyed yet. And they said, oh, no, this is for the lot. I said, well, what are you sweeping there? Well, that's the marker. And so I asked them, I said, where's the town property line? And he said, about 4 feet towards my house from the pole. So that was completely covered all winter long, and that's private property, and he said it ran along the street. So all those piles are in fact on private. So if they can be on private property continuously all winter long there, why not just throw them back on the beach on private property with the easement that protects the town, and then you don't keep sending the trucks down for all the stuff that keeps falling back in, and then the marsh is choked out? Doesn't that make sense?
Yes.
Right, well,
I think it's an issue of benefit, too.
Well, the benefit to the
I think
town
the town
is,
wins.
if you can avoid trucking and you can move material, you have a free place to dump it, right next to where the machine's digging, and keep dumping it and moving, that's the benefit to the town.
Yeah.
No, it's not a matter of, it's not a matter of benefit to the town, it's a benefit to the private person using public funds.
Okay, so when they plow roads...
Yeah, but you know what, I don't think that that's up for us to debate here tonight.
Right.
I understand it's an issue and a concern.
And if we can figure out a way to work towards that, that'd be great.
It's worth getting an answer from legal counsel.
Did you record all that you said?
No, but
I just said that. You did.
But I will, before I know.
I thought Bill was supposed to do that.
That's why I showed up late. I stayed in traffic for 2.5 hours just to avoid it.
Right.
Can we, yes, sir.
Just one more question. Excuse me, ma'am, you said that the beach north of the beachway is owned by the government. What government owns that?
The federal government.
That owns the beach?
Yeah, it's on the deed at the bottom of Fourth Cliff, almost to.
My deed says that my property ends at the base of the cliff. So the revetment, for example, is not on my property. And all the properties stay there. And I have plot plans back from 1921 that said all the same thing when there wasn't a cliff road. So if the government owns it, should I pursue trying to get them to fix it? Whoever the government is?
That wouldn't, that would be his question.
Particular section of Clifton.
Okay.
There's further research is being done.
Can we, because we do have a lot of,
Thank you.
we have, thank you very much. We do have a number of other folks on for tonight, and I think we've made some pretty good progress.
Thank you for not taking Humrock away.
We're not. We make a few jokes, but we.
It's Frank's favorite place to work on.
But we are, and we will, and it's not simple. Get there. Rosemary asked a question if Pat could explain briefly the minor activities
I will,
permit.
and I'm going to pass around a sign-up sheet, because any type of appeal down the road, you have to have attended the meeting, and just put your name for now. Usually we'll get name and address, but your name's on there, that'll be good enough, so. Okay. Sorry to do this at the end.
You want name and email?
Sure.
You could put that on, because I think we did that the first time. I just didn't want to tie people up for another 20 minutes, but minor activities permits are pretty simple to get. If you have stone and sand or whatever that's on your street side of your property, you want to either put it under your house to cover your septic or utilities, or put it back onto the beach, you would just contact my office. We can do it through email, and at this point, they're free after storm cleanup, but at some point there may be a charge when we change our regulations. But it'll basically be something that your contractor could either put in as a piece of equipment or on the window of your house. Has a permit number, and it lets people know that you came to our office to do this, you asked for permission, and you were given it. Two things we have to watch out for is you don't damage someone else's property, or you don't run over a dune or a marsh in the process. So we try to take a look at it. A lot of times can look at it through GIS, and we issue them through the email. So, and many of the contractors down there know about it and have like 12 people they take care of their property, and they'll have one for all 12, one for each 12. So. Is that okay, Rosemary?
Thank you.
Okay.
Good information.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to continue this to the next, do you want to, how much time do you think, Sean, to address the concerns? Can we do this at the next meeting?
What else would you like me to address at the next meeting?
I mean, I think we've got it.
I mean, well, right, I want to, like you were saying earlier, keep it in response to addressing the emergency, the flooding in the roadway, the trenching into the marsh, where we're,
and just like any other decision, we can amend that. If something were to come up where we figure out that this material can be deposited between houses, we can amend that order.
Right. Well, I can write up draft conditions based on where we are at this point. We've made some decisions and some progress. Bring that to the meeting. If we need to add to it that night, we can do it, and maybe we'll be ready to take a vote at that point.
Okay.
And we'll ask legal counsel about this whole...
Yeah, and I'll read in on it.
Access between houses.
I'll read in on it, so I'll be able to vote.
Right.
Yeah, we could condition it that, should they work out easements, we can put that in the orders, that they'll have the ability to put it on the beach.
Exactly.
I think it's going to be a living document as as the whole Hummerock progresses with meetings with the state.
I appreciate all the work that DPW did on this. Sean's really spent a lot of time researching, access ways and all different things, and working with the consultant. So it was helpful to us to be able to walk across and ask you questions too.
But I think your job will be easier, at least if you consistently have the water come from the same place, because there's always certain places, and if the stones aren't there, at least you know it's going to come through here, here, and here, and make your plans accordingly,
Right.
rather than have, it's going to come over wherever the pile's shortest, and so it's inconsistent, and it's like beating your head against the wall. I mean, that must be frustrating.
Your life would be easier if you just let Lisa take care of it. And then
Stop it. No, I'm really just...
We need a motion.
Make sure you get those notes.
We have a motion to continue DPW GZA Central Avenue to 6:45 on May 20th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
And the presentation is
Thank you,
June
folks.
16th with the state people, and we can ask them all sorts of state-related questions, DEP and coastal zone. And like, why can't revetments be used? And those kind of questions, they've researched it. But they've also said they're willing to consider some new things in pilot projects because, as you know, things aren't working the way they are, so they may be open to new things, so.
Okay. Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Well done, group. Very nicely.
Thank you all for coming.
Nicely organized.
Thanks, John.
You guys did a great job tonight.
Excuse me, Pat, that meeting with Board of Selectmen, is it Wednesday?
They usually meet on Tuesdays. They bump this.
Nobody wants to know about this bridge anymore.
Hey, Frank.
14.
Yes.
While we have a break, I'm sorry. 2.5 hours to go. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Shoot.
No, we weren't, this actually worked out well.
14th, but it's next
what a
Wednesday. Today's the 6th, would be the 13th.
Do we want to move right on to the McNeese? What are you up to, Paul?
Your selectmen's meeting on the...
What are you here for?
But that's not at 7.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm Brenda.
All the names too, just in case you miss some.
Okay.
On May 6th, 2015, at 7:30 PM, the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding
Always a summer event. That's
Colin
nice.
and M. and Gail L. McNeese to construct 2 additions at number 8 Dunbar Lane, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
And I was there today.
Excuse me, folks, I'm sorry, can we take that outside?
You won't get appointed again.
Yeah.
That's come out fast.
Don't you dare. I'll even go down to Humboldt to get you.
Mr. Marabito?
My name is Paul Marabito from Los Engineering Company. I represent the owners of the applicants, number 8, Dunbar Lane, Home, and Gail McNeese. This lot, which is outlined in yellow, contains 17,500 square feet. What we're proposing to do is to do some small additions to the existing house shown in brown. There's 2 additions on each end. There's 3 different resource areas on the site. The blue one is the inland bank, from which we measure back 100 feet to 200 feet, because that's subject to the Rivers Act. And the orange line is the edge of the BVW that was flagged by Brad Holmes. This is the 50-foot buffer, and this is the 100-foot buffer. Just off the lot in the corner here, there's a 3-foot elevation 13 as well. This is Scituate Brook, which is a tidal brook. The work on the house is being done between 100 and 200 feet from the riverfront. Again, there's an addition to the street end of the house, and there's a small addition to the back. There's 2 existing concrete pads here that were old dog pens that will be removed, and in this place will be pervious pavers installed for a at-grade patio. The front of the house, they're proposing to park the vehicles at this end of the house. Right now, the parking area is in the green area. What they're proposing to do is have 2 spaces for the vehicles here. And when they back out, this orange is proposed pavement, and this proposed pavement in this area here, so when they back out, they can back to here and turn around and go back up to First Parish Road. This green area is existing pavement, which is going to be removed. There's a net reduction of impervious area within the riverfront and the 50-foot buffer of roughly 500 square feet. And that's because this area is going to be removed of the pavement and replaced with a lawn area. The other thing they're proposing to do is in the front of the house, there's some short walls here with landscape timbers for small planting beds for herbs, and there's one in the back here as well. The road from First Parish Road down to this area here is presently paved. This gray area is existing pavement that will remain in place. This is, with respect to the riverfront, this is a redevelopment project. The lot was created before 1996, so they are entitled to do that work. Some of you may recall a few years back, the existing home was raised and reconstructed to the brown area. At that time, a new septic system was put in this area here. There's quite a bit of debris down in the wetland area, the engine parts, and all of that had been cleaned up. This lot, going back 10, 12 years, was extremely degraded, but between the house being raised and rebuilt and the yard area being cleaned up, and with this project where the pavement being pulled back, there's been clearly a net environmental benefit to the resource areas on the downhill side of it. And that most of the pavement and the junk that was in the yard is being removed in close proximity to the wetlands and the riverfront, and it's being replaced with a more environmentally friendly surface. The existing pavement in this area here at the present time is approximately 15 feet here. This small patch here and the existing pavement will now be 28.4 feet. So we pull the pavement back from the 50-foot buffer by a factor of almost 2. Again, with respect to mitigation, the mitigation they're providing is a substantial reduction in the impervious area here, putting it back to lawn. And also, the vehicles will never be able to park down in this area here where they are at the present time. They'll only be able to come down to the edge here and park in here. And that would be the one which is, for the most part, just outside the 50-foot buffer zone. I think with that, I'll end my presentation and answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Bill?
One thing before questions start, one thing that Carol usually does is check off the abutter cards to see, and we just, to really have it be an official hearing, we need to have the abutter information. So you have the list, and are the green cards already okay.
And in the notice of intent, you've got the certified list of abutters from the assessors?
Okay, yeah, so if someone could just compare those two. Feel free to assign this to someone else, because you have other stuff.
Okay.
I think that's it there.
This one here?
That's it there.
So give it one of those lugs. She's taking vacation, just don't schedule any meetings.
Excuse me.
No meetings.
Like I was
You gotta
told,
be
I can
back.
sign it. I assigned this check to you.
Phil?
I'm trying to get the orientation of this house. So the river is in the back, and then what's in the front?
This is the brook. This is high and everything slopes downhill in this direction.
So First Parish Road, Jenkins School is across the street.
Jenkins School is right here.
Okay, all right. Because on the right side of this, you were saying that it goes in between 100 and 200 feet from the river. But the setback is 200 feet from the river, right?
100-foot setback from the river, this is a 200-foot.
But is it 200 feet from a river?
It was built a long time ago, though, so if it were a new lot, it's 200 feet.
Yeah.
But if it was an existing house that was torn down, so then you're really trying to make the most of protecting the 100 closest to the river. That's the goal. The whole lot is within the 200, so they can't keep it out, the new work.
just for future reference, so it's kind of grandfathered in, but would that allow them to put more inside the 200 theoretically?
That's a calculation that we have to look at.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
good point, though.
All right.
And it's amount of disturbance, percentage of a lot that's disturbed, but if the house is before 1996, there are some allowances, so.
Okay.
But, while we're on the topic, in the riverfront, you can redevelop your lot more than one time. They do have a limitation on it, but what they're doing here is they're coming back within the riverfront, and they're working in an area which has already been developed, which is this whole lot pretty much. What they're going to do is do more work in an area that's already been developed.
How has the lot been developed wherever the house is not?
Because this is in virgin land. It never was prior to 1996. This whole portion of the lot had been developed prior to 1996. So about 10 years, I don't know if it was 5 years or 10 years ago.
How do we find developed? I mean, anything that's mowed is developed, or how do we define developed?
Much of this lot is on previous fill. It was filled down, there was a wetland fill a long time ago, and then there was an old house that was raised.
Gotcha.
Then there was a new house built and a new septic, and now they're adding to the house.
Because on either side of the house, they're adding more house to it, right? That's
correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So how is the adding of the house grandfathered? I thought what was existing was grandfathered. I'm a little confused, too.
Yeah, well, no.
There's a
Pat said it's the
percentage
that you're allowed to do.
Right.
As a.
Right.
And they're not building closer to the river, they're kind of paralleling it.
Right.
There is some benefit in getting rid of the pavement that's even closer,
Okay.
which looks like it's in the 50-foot buffer zone for the wetlands.
But
this
we're
project is
adding more
doing-
pavement too.
But further away, outside of the 50, yeah.
Exactly, yep.
What this project is doing and what the previous project did was it was pulling everything back from the riverfront and from the bordering vegetated wetland, which is one of your performance standards when you work on the riverfront. What you want to do is make it more beneficial to the environment, and the previous project as well as this one is meeting that test of the performance standard.
So Paul, what is the square footage that's proposed to being added?
There's approximately 2,800 square feet of area that's going to be altered.
Right.
Or changed. And when I say changed, you're going to go from lawn here to the addition. And
Right.
you're going to go from a concrete pad, which is impervious, to impervious pavers. Over here, you're going to be removing the pavement, pulling that back permanently, and you're going to have a small driveway here off the end of the house. Right now, this is where they park and they walk up to the house.
You're actually over-answering my question and confusing me terribly. What is the square footage of the additions? I'm going to get to what you're taking out, because I like what you're doing, so, but what's the square footage of the additions? Approximately.
The additions are relatively small. I think that's 12 by 16, that's about 180 square feet.
Right.
And this is just under 200 square feet.
Okay, now, how much area are you reverting to pervious areas, or you're improving? What's the square footage of that?
We have a net increase of pervious area of 500 square feet.
Okay, and area now that is going to be made, you've been saying this, you're taking areas that are not very good now and you're going to make them much better. How much?
Right, this area here is 1,534 square feet.
That's what I was
That's
getting.
growing.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry if I didn't ask the question very well, but you gave me what I wanted.
The regulations are confusing.
No question.
He'd give us a convoluted answer anyway.
Just an addendum, whatever is still remaining in the river or the brook needs to go. So if there's everything that's not done.
I think that was cleaned up, though, if I recall, because I was on the commission.
So it's done, I mean, there's nothing else left.
I don't remember if I was on one that was conditioned, but I know I was out there before there was a CFC.
You were there for the certificate of compliance.
Right. And we went there, and there was a couple little piles left over, all it was cleaned up, and I remember being there, and Paul and I discussed that,
There's
and
an engine sticking out of the wetland.
yeah, and they took out...
Good morning.
Took a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
No questions.
Lisa?
No questions.
Pat, you want to add anything?
Well, these riverfront ones are tricky, especially if they've been previously developed. And I had mentioned to Paul that we have an old file on this that I wanted to look through, and today kind of got away from me. But the question was if you can disturb up to 5,000 square feet or 10% of a riverfront lot, and most of it has to be out of the 100. Does pavement that they're taking out offset a structure that they're putting up? Is it a square foot
Like a
per
net?
square foot?
Yeah.
Right, because if that's the case, they're reducing the amount of impervious, and that would be a good
500.
thing, and I
Right.
think overall, it's pulled back and it's cleaned up and there's a chance to make the site better. It's super septic from what I hear too. It's a treatment septic system, it's not it's like a Presby or something like that. So,
Yeah, that whole lot was filled years and years ago.
yeah, it was a mess of a,
Septic was very expensive. We did the inspections on that. There's a pretty deep hole. The first 7 or 8 feet was fill.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
removed that and we went down the virgin soil and put sand in and brought it up. It doesn't have a treatment system in it.
Right, so in the notice, I'm not sure if it was Brad Holmes or you, it had to go through the performance standards they have to satisfy within a riverfront and justify why you're doing it. And there was, pretty good description of both the wetland resource areas and what they were going to do to meet the performance standards. Can it be moved further away? They're kind of up against the property line by building code in zoning. They can't get further away. That would be one of the things. Can you move those additions to the back side of the house? And they really can't be moved. Permeable pavers on the far, the lower end there, that's where the concrete is currently, Paul?
Yeah, there are 2 old concrete pads there.
Okay.
One was a dog pen, that's going.
And there's no grading being shown done in the back. Does that mean there isn't going to be any grading? It's just going to be...
No, the grade stays the same. The yard was graded off when after the house was rebuilt.
Okay. There's an area in that same area that looks like it's been cleared a bit. I mean, that should probably be not converted to lawn. That should be natural vegetation. They're looking to put all lawn, but, in a riverfront within the 100, we should probably be pushing for a little bit more of a natural vegetation, not something that's going to take fertilizer and, all sorts of other stuff. Like maybe the full amount of lawn doesn't have to be lawn.
I mean, they're putting the lawn there to, to keep people out of there so no one parks in that area. And also, they've got some young children that's the only place for them to play is in that yard area.
It might be a good place for conservation posts too, so that cars can't drive in there, some cedar posts or something, It is close to the wetland. There are some things that they've been cleaning up recently, and maybe they can continue to do that. There's like yard waste is all dumped behind that shed, and I was saying you're gonna find a new spot for that, so.
I mean, the sheds in the back, there were 2 there and one was removed, but they kept that. The reason I want to keep that is because they don't have a garage.
Right.
They need something to put their stuff in, so they're just leaving it where it was.
I mean, I think it can be conditioned to be an approved site.
Okay, but you have to figure out the percentage.
Do we,
Yeah, well, percentage looks okay, but I don't know if driveway and house trade off, and I'm assuming it does, but I think if it doesn't, then, we don't have to continue this because of that. I should get that answer.
The lawn that you're removing, or the asphalt that you're removing, most of that's not on their property. It's in the right-of-way. Am I right?
That's a private way, we're saying, they would own the center of it.
Okay.
She's also spoken to the abutter across the street, Mr. Kelleher.
Yeah.
It's Danny's son,
And we conditioned that one, too.
Yep, recently.
The only thing, as Pat said, maybe there's the possibility of adding a little bit of planting or something in back of that shed, as a buffer. If they want to keep some lawn, I get that.
Yeah.
You just put something along the edge of the lawn?
Some sort of plantings,
barrier.
Brad could come up with some blueberries,
Some like
winterberry.
berries or small bushes that'll keep people out of there, yeah.
Just a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah.
Would be helpful.
Yeah, she was doing some planting there today. She had a couple holes dug. She had plants she was relocating toward the back, and that looked fine. So,
planting a tree, she told me.
yeah.
So I think just maybe come up with a little bit of a planting plan of something that's going to be good for habitat and...
Maybe a couple of posts.
Yep.
They're wooden, they're not the concrete things, right? Penny's not here, we can do wooden posts.
We don't need granite.
We don't need to- Oh, don't type that.
This is a notice of intent.
Oh, okay, so we don't have to,
Oh.
all right.
Anybody in the audience? Okay, can we close?
I think so, yeah.
Make a motion to close.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you, Mr. Maravito.
And we
Those
could
are
have,
conditions.
we could have
Yeah.
conditions
Yep.
ready for the next time, so that we're
Great.
not delaying things.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Griffin, 111 Turner Road, FEMA elevation?
That's me and Paul as well.
Don't go anywhere, Paul.
So as a matter of mutual interest, I'm assuming that the FEMA elevations have not altered up to this point anyway, right?
Nope, it's
Okay.
looking like they are heading toward a change, but at this point, they are still at 2012.
Okay.
Yeah, fire away.
Thank you.
This was good.
Yes.
Oh, no, I
Good.
didn't. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
You're welcome.
I'll dig it out.
Wow.
Keep them in line, Paul.
I just thought of it.
On May 6, 2015, 7:40 PM, the Town Hall of Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Mass General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, regarding Francis R. and Christina S. Griffin, Jr. trustees to elevate an existing dwelling at 111 Turner Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Yes, thank you. My name is Paul Marabito from Ross Engineering Company. I'm representing the owner of the applicant, this project, Mr. Griffin. The applicant owns the existing dwelling at 111 Turner Road. It did receive some storm damage in the form of flooding in the previous two storms, and what she's proposing to do is to seek a FEMA grant to elevate the building to the new standards. The house is shown in brown with a covered porch around it. This is an open deck. The plan would be to pick that up to elevation, where the first floor would be elevation 16. The top of the concrete would be, the flood zone in the 2013 map is elevation 16. That's the first floor elevation. We're proposing to set the top of the concrete at elevation 16, and the first floor would be at elevation 17, or 1 foot above the 2013 flood maps. We submitted to you the structural plans prepared by Rivermore Engineering. Because this is in a AE zone and not a velocity zone, the foundation would be a reinforced concrete foundation with a recorded breakout panels for flood protection. There's no There's no changes in the elevations to the land area. The lot is at an elevation of roughly an average of 8.5 at the street. It rises up approximately almost a foot to the rear of the house, so it's a fairly flat lot.
Is there any addition? It's the same footprint, just going up?
It's the same footprint
Okay.
going up.
Great.
Richard?
No questions.
What's it going on, Paul?
17.
How many piles, sir?
No, it's
Piers?
in a
Is it
reinforced
cord?
concrete foundation wall.
Okay.
Yeah, that's in an AE zone.
And you said you were gonna have panels in it, right?
There's the
Yeah.
breakout panels in there, the flow-through vents.
Can you explain those, Paul, to the commission, how those work and the size and that kind of stuff?
Well, depending on how much foundation wall you have exposed, within the flood zone, you need so many square inches overall total. So the panels they use today are these flow vents, which you can essentially buy off the shelf, and they're either cut into the foundation wall or you can put them in the concrete forms, and they have to be within a foot of the surface of the ground. So when the flood water comes in, the panels would open, and the water goes into the foundation, and when the water recedes, the panels will open the other way and let the water go out. Purpose is to equalize the hydrostatic pressure in that foundation so it doesn't collapse.
So they don't actually break away, they just open like louver.
Yeah, they used to make them that
Yeah.
wooden ones that had
Wooden
nails and
ones or
whatnot.
something, and they would actually just break out.
Yeah. And can your utilities be in the basement at all, or they all have to be
No,
above?
no,
Okay.
they're all up on the first or second
Okay.
floor.
All right.
In that scenario, can you still park your car underneath us?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You could, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with pilings, if you lay your pilings out right, you can park your car under the...
The idea is that
There's not a solid wall trying to meet the
too much
ocean.
pressure on the
Right.
outside. It's
Right.
not so much that the ocean's gonna flow through, but the water's gonna come up around it. And if there's too much pressure on the outside, it'll just cave in the foundation.
Gotcha.
Equalizes the pressure.
Good, thanks.
Anybody in the audience want to speak to this?
I'll say one thing.
Sure.
I'm Krista Griffin, I'm the owner of the property. I am going to move forward with all my paperwork to try to apply for the FEMA grant. I've spent time with Nancy on the phone, and I think one of my issues is the amount of time it takes to process and get the money and everything else, and I don't think I can go through another winter there. I'm actually across the street from the ball field down Turner Road, which has been substantially flooding with the seawall at the top of Oceanside and Turner. So even though I may go the FEMA permit route, I very well may also just go to building and move forward with permitting to raise it myself without going that route.
Well, I hope you get the grant.
I don't think they don't come fast enough. It
Yeah.
would be nice if they did it so you could do the work and keep the receipts even if they paid X percentage.
And it is kind of silly that, but if you do the work ahead of time, then they won't give you the grant.
Right.
No.
Yeah, one thing on this is, in the application, you gotta check off the box on the resource area, so it's land subject to coastal storm flowage, so that DEP and we know what area it's in, so it's in a flood zone, so I'll check that off and...
We did get a file number.
Okay. All right. A motion, anybody else?
Motion's here, right? Motion to close?
Yep. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Is there any, any erosion control around that at all, Paul, or?
We don't show it, but,
I know it's a tricky site, but we had a place just down the street where they were working, and then this, it was raining, and it was fill, and,
we can put a silt sock in it, Ronnie, you could probably add that to the order conditions.
Are you talking about my property?
yeah.
Yeah, I know that, I mean, I...
Not your property before, but when they do the earthwork here, and you wind up, say, with a good storm or something, you're probably not gonna have a lot of place to stockpile material, so, but what we don't want is any siltation or anything from that running down Oceanside and then off into the marsh or whatever, so think about how you might contain that.
On this site, they'll probably have to take the fill out as they excavate it, because they're gonna be working under the house, so they can't stockpile it there.
Yeah, there's hardly a place there. I'm just looking at that little strip that...
Yep.
Right, but just like Frank said, if it rains or...
Backyard, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we may have a piece in there about that you have to work out with the contract. Somebody might have a different thing, but that's what we want to be careful of.
Because the only fill they take out is the excavation for the footing, but there's no sense in having to move that twice. It costs more money, so move it once and just get it out of there.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, all right.
Benelli, is that right? 46 Atlantic Drive. On May 6, 2015, at 7:50 PM, the Town of Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Mass General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding James and Nancy Benelli to remove and replace the seawall and patio at 46 Atlantic Drive, Humrock. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. You got the registered,
Yes. Let's see. Is that it? Just three?
okay.
How you doing, Tom?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Around the January the 26th storm.
So just for the record, you guys' names?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Leo Stickney, Cobra Enterprises.
Thank you.
In the storm, the blizzard of January 26th, the wall at 46 Atlantic Drive got undermined, fell. And you can see it is in front of 46 and the neighbor's house. Half of the wall is laying over flat on the beach. The other half in front of Mr. Benelli's house is out and sunk. Get a set of plans in front of you drawn by Associates, virtual plan, all in place, all the existing footprint. Now, as you see, that patio right there is it's hanging in there. 4.5, 5 feet of void under the patio. It got washed out when the wall fell. So it entail removing the existing patio, removing the existing wall, which was only approximately 6 feet to the bottom of the footing. The new wall calls for 13 feet overall, so there'd be roughly 7 feet deeper than the existing wall. That's really the only difference. The wall would go back in the exact same footprint as the previous wall, and also the patio. So it's just basically replacing what was there and failed, only deeper. Because most of the walls, the seawalls, the private seawalls there that have failed, in the past 4 years, I did 260 and 264 Central. And the same thing, they all got undermined. It was just that they're shallow.
Yeah.
The beach has been dropping over the years, and the walls haven't got pushed over by the waves. They got undermined, fall, and then that's how they're failing. Like I say, the ones we've done recently, 260 and 264, we replaced deeper. You know, the footing, steel, obviously, as shown in the structural drawing there. And I want to done some riprap in front of the wall to keep the, basically that's what happened. The scour comes off the wall, washes away, undermines the existing, and
Phil?
It's Educate Bill tonight. So how do we know what's private wall? Is it part of your deed that says, I own the seawall, or it's just part of the footprint of the house, in terms of the drawing?
it's part of the footprint of the house, and
Okay.
it's on Mr. Benelli's property.
Gotcha. That's really, wow, it's bad. So what is there now gets removed, the part that's lying down, all of that goes,
Yes.
right? So this would require a lot of, it would require some equipment on the beach, right?
Yes.
So they have to go through the same standards as everybody else in terms of what we were just talking about earlier tonight,
Right,
right?
if it were footings, it could have been, an RDA maybe, but when you
Right,
get
right.
equipment on the beach and you're removing a wall, you do have to get a notice, so they would be in order of conditions.
Yep. Gotcha, thank you.
Has Walter done many of these down here, Leo? Has he done a lot of the seawalls?
I don't know, the previous two that I did, that was Anderson Engineering from Marshfield.
Yeah.
But like I said, they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah. Now, we do have a contractor on our commission that can look at the plans. We used to have an engineer who could look at the plans, but, some of them are pretty standard, and we go through, some of the engineers, CLE, and some of the other people are submitting all the time to us, so we know their stuff, but... But they allow the local conservation commission to do the vote, but they do have a copy of this.
Oh, so they don't have to issue a permit?
No, they delegate that to us.
Yeah.
We do it, and if we'd have a problem with it, we'll hear from them. But we've done a whole bunch of these on Central Ave. They're maintaining existing walls, repair or replace.
This one's actually pretty dangerous right now. I mean, this could collapse even further. You don't want anybody wandering around down there.
How old was the patio?
I couldn't even tell you.
You didn't repair it when you first took over the house?
It was spot repaired when it was the storm of 2013.
Yeah.
So it wasn't completely replaced.
Right. It's in bad shape now, there's no question. I was up there today.
Excuse me.
Didn't the ocean blow in those doors, like 2 years ago or something? Yeah.
Right after you bought it, right?
Right after we did it.
Yeah, I remember walking down the seawall and you could see in your house and the coffee maker on the counter, and it looked like the ocean came through.
It did.
That wasn't very funny.
My wife didn't think it was funny.
I bet.
I live right down the street from you.
Lisa, any comments?
None.
Anybody, Pat, you want to?
I just had, what do you think of the retaining wall and the design?
I mean, he's stamping it, right? He's
got a stamp on it, yeah.
Usually you see pieces of seawall being a little thicker or whatever. I guess, he's got the spread footing at the bottom, which is what he has to have for a wall that high. So that appears to be correct. I can't be a person to judge.
How do you join the pieces? Because obviously you're making one continuous piece, right? Yeah.
We'll drill and dowel into the existing wall, you epoxy the, pieces of rebar into the existing wall, and then pour the new wall into that, so they overlap. And then in the new wall, there's vertical and horizontal rebar, so that will all get tied to the dowels that tie it to the existing wall.
Thank you.
One of the things, Leo, is you're showing some riprap being added to the face, but there's really no detail. It's kind of showing a lot of stone. Any, a little more detail on what that's going to entail?
Yeah, if you want, like I say, I usually, put down some filter fabric.
Yeah.
Some 3/4 inch and a half stone, and then the riprap sits on top.
Like, how big are the stones? How?
Usually, 7,000 pounds is the average down there, because you don't want them too small, or they just become projectiles.
Placing those at an angle on top of it, like excavating some.
Yeah, just, up at an angle, Frank, probably, the front row of them down, probably, usually down 3 feet below grade, and then come up to the wall. The same thing, some of the plans, or the ones we had before, showed the riprap coming up to almost within like 2 feet of the top of the wall, and we found that it's basically a launching ramp. So you want them, you want a lot of the wall exposed, so when the wave comes in, it hits the wall, and then as it turns back off the wall, that's where the scour.
Right, you want to stop the scouring.
And the riprap is just to reduce the scour away from the wall.
I guess it might be a good idea to get that added to the information.
Okay, sure, whatever you need.
As part of our, I think we should just know what that's going to look like.
Yeah, like a side view, how far the toe will come out, and then how high on the wall.
Cross-section of the...
Sure, absolutely.
Do we know, is there a cap of how high a seawall can be nowadays, or?
I mean, they're talking about allowing the raising of them by a couple of feet, but...
Yeah, the short answer is no.
Yeah, no gap.
But the assumption is that this would be level with the other one.
Yeah, no,
Right.
it's good.
This would be the exact same elevation as the pre-existing wall.
Just deeper.
This is, really has nothing to do with your permit, but I'm just trying to learn more as we go along here. So the scouring part, is the part that undermines. So by having the riprap up a little bit higher and then obviously driving the wall down a lot lower, then that alleviates or helps alleviate that issue. Right?
Yeah, the depth of the wall is more important than the riprap in front of it. It's,
Right.
So you're gonna remove that existing concrete patio, pour this wall, fill in back of it,
And then
put riprap on the front, and then put the
and
new...
pour a new slab.
Now, how does Public Works and, I know, Building Department, connecting slabs to the walls, I know that that's been an issue for the security of the wall, too. I mean, is there...
They want to be able to get in between.
Well, it's private, but...
No, this is private.
Yeah.
This is just how they're
For
gonna...
structural, is that the best way to do this?
Well, actually, it gives you strength because you have a big moment arm of concrete sticking up when a wave hits it. Now, when you tie a patio to it,
But like, I think, Pat, like you said, and it's been pros and cons no matter who you talk to.
Right.
Do you drill and dowel the slab to the house foundation? Do you just put an expansion joint there and leave it so they move independent?
I don't see that on his plan. All he's showing the wall, and then there's just a black line, which I would assume is the patio.
Yeah,
So it's sort of...
because there's really no structural to the patio other than the board. The structural is all in the wall itself, right?
It doesn't look like it was tied to it, the old one.
No. And most of them, and what we did on the other two that I've done previously is we did just put the expansion joint, because I do believe that too, the walls that we've done have held up great, but still, when the waves hit them, you take them, and if it's tied too tight to the foundation, all you're doing is transferring that load to the
We've
house
seen that pull
foundation.
away too.
And wouldn't that make the house foundation weaker? I mean, so it's either, it's like people complain.
Exactly, you could get 10 different opinions from 10 different.
Great job with the pictures, Blake, in terms of getting a view of what you're talking about and what you want to do. This is terrific.
Anybody in the audience want to speak to this? I think we need some information on that revetment, and then maybe just a note as to what they do with the patio that can be submitted.
Yeah, if you'd like, we could get that information, have the conditions ready, and close and vote if you want on...
Try to do it that way. So we won't close it tonight, but we'll be ready to close with the orders if you can get us the information on the revetment. So normally we would close and then you get the orders at the next meeting. But when we're missing a few pieces like this, rather than close, we're gonna continue it. But if you have that information to Pat with the revetment information, and why don't you just see if you'd make a note, just what you're gonna do to support that patio, if it's gonna sit on top of the wall, or how you're gonna do that, and then have those pieces together, and then we can close and give you the orders at the next meeting.
So it's not
So essentially, you haven't
taking any
lost
more
any
time.
Lost any
Yeah.
time, just- okay, yeah, not a problem.
All right.
Make a motion to continue to...
20th?
Yeah. At what time? Am I supposed to be doing that?
No,
Okay.
6:55.
Motion to continue to 6:55 on May 20th.
A second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thanks for
Good luck.
Thank you.
education, too.
Thank you, Leo. Okay.
To you in the next couple of days.
Good on. Thanks.
And my battery's officially dead.
Is that right?
Frank,
Yeah, thing.
do they have to go through Building Department for a concrete slab or only a wooden deck?
No, I think that, well, I would think the building department's gonna be part of the permitting on this as well, so.
They were very interested in the other one that we saw, down by Lighthouse Road.
Building departments
wanted,
permit patios?
right?
Building
Only
department
with
permit
wood.
decks,
Yeah.
Yeah,
patios.
yeah.
Who permits
But the
patios?
wall, because it's a structural engineer, I think that it's not a bad idea for the.
You gotta wonder what the difference between a deck and a
Yeah.
patio is. You gotta wonder.
Yeah, so,
Stone and wood.
Doubt it.
I'll run it by Neil as well. And when I get the information back from him, I'll run it by Neil.
Okay. So want to jump back up to RDA's?
Yep.
Stacy, 62 Lighthouse Road.
82.
82, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're who I was talking about.
On May 6, 2015, during the 6:15 PM meeting in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Mary Stacy for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw to replace a concrete deck on property located at 82 Lighthouse Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Good evening.
So just for the record, if you could state your names.
Yep, Jeff Bradford.
Fire away.
Well, we've been at this meeting before, and we're trying to replace this concrete slab in front of the house. It was 40 feet by 10 feet. Now we're making it 40 feet by 9 feet, but off the rocks, closer to the house. The previous concrete slab was there 45 years, and it cracked, and it wasn't really storm-related necessarily. So we're going to replace it with reinforced concrete, like I said, further off the rocks, closer to the house, and with ramp going down to the water to replace that.
Pat, do you have an application on that one?
Yeah.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. So you're gonna come off the breakwater there, you're gonna come off the stone wall, yeah. And the family voted and they didn't wanna not go with concrete, they wanted to stick with the concrete, right?
Yeah, but there was like a
Steps going down the revetment.
couple people in the wheelchair.
Oh, yeah, that's right,
So, I mean, it was
yeah. Yeah, I remember that,
stuff on that.
yep. What will the ramp go down to the water is gonna be wood, like it was before, right?
Well, the ramp will be...
Instead of concrete.
Yeah, the ramp will be concrete like it was before, and the bottom, we have aluminum stairs going to the,
Aluminum,
going
okay,
into the water.
aluminum, okay, yep. So essentially, you're reducing the footprint of what was already there, and then in the other part that's going down to the water and over the rocks, exactly the same.
Right, yeah.
Within the same
Yeah.
boat. We were there, the three of us walked up this.
Yeah, the last meeting, the concern was tying it into the top of the...
Right, and they pulled it back off of
Right.
it, yep.
Took the issue away.
Okay, Lisa?
No.
How thick is the pad gonna be?
Excuse me?
How thick?
8 inches, reinforced concrete.
Yeah, there were a couple of questions. Is the work to remove the old stairs done? I mean, were the concrete stairs from the wall down to the beach?
All the way down to where the aluminum stairs
Okay.
are, yep.
All right, and those,
All the way down now.
No, down to the aluminum stairs, right.
okay, and so that's been removed?
Yes.
Okay, and that you want to replace concrete on that side of the wall?
Yep.
Okay.
Replace the concrete stairs with concrete stairs and a smaller slab.
Okay, aluminum wouldn't work all the way down on that side?
Well, I don't know how we would do that. I mean, the rocks are up and down and,
All right, I mean, just the fact of jackhammering concrete on the beach and then pouring a whole new set of concrete down there is, it's something that I haven't seen recently. We've seen, walkways or aluminum walkways or ramps or wooden stairs that can be taken up at the end of the year. It's, we're trying to get away from concrete wherever we can.
How would you keep the concrete from going through, right down?
well, right now there are forms set up, and we just keep it contained with the forms.
Right, we were at the house, but...
So is all the concrete stairs coming out, or is it just a portion of it?
No, it's actually, it's gone. It's already gone. Previously, the building department had okayed it, and we just went ahead.
I knew the patio was gone, but you also removed the stairs at the same time?
Like 2 months ago, yeah.
So there's only I think maybe 3 stairs left there. At one point, they did go all the way down the ocean, and those just must have, over time, just washed away. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what when we came out, there was just 3 of them left, yeah, right?
That's it.
Yep.
So we wouldn't be going any further down, we're just gonna 3 stairs.
Yeah, 2 years ago, we bought aluminum stairs to go from high water down into the bottom.
So this is saying that the stairs that you're replacing are 4 foot wide by 16 feet long?
Yeah.
And were they connected to the wall? I mean,
They were connected originally to the slab, 45 years ago, yeah.
Okay, and now they're not going to be, they're going to be...
No, we were planning on pouring right up to it, just make it one continual.
So you're attaching the stairs to the slab?
Slab.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not to the rocks.
No.
Right.
The slab, the patio won't be attached to that.
Yeah, the slab is back from the rocks, right?
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, you'd have a 12-inch gap between your patio and just right to put your ankle into and twist it.
Yeah, right now we've moved the forms back. They're already back. They're back a lot smaller, and there's, where the stairs are, they're several feet away from the rocks.
I haven't been there, so I...
Yeah, there's also a request to have something read into the record from a butter who wasn't able to make it, so... It's this paragraph here.
This is on the bay side, not the ocean side for you guys.
This is from Melissa, is it Marmon?
I'm not sure how to pronounce.
Marum. At 82 Lighthouse. I'll not be able to make the meeting tonight. I'm going to try, but I have a conflict. Will prevent me. I did want to go on record with the following. I'd like to see an engineer's report regarding the stability of the riprap in its current state following the heavy equipment recently used to tear up the existing concrete slab at 82 Lighthouse Road before any further work continues. I, at 78 Lighthouse Road, have a large portion that has collapsed greatly since the day the work began. If an engineer suggests the integrity of the wall is intact, I have no qualms whatsoever about the home improvements project. I further wanted to stated for the record that prior to the hearing today, May 6th, work has been done at the site for 2 days and does not appear permitted. I looked into having my concrete slab worked on and was told I would need a permit that would be difficult to secure given my location and integrity of the riprap seawall, and chose not to follow through. I did not get a chance to take a look at this.
Yeah, when I was out there, I was focusing on the slab. I didn't even know there were stairs. Everything had been taken out by that point. And I saw it looked like a wooden set of stairs going over the thing, so I assumed that that's what was going to be used. And then when we got the packet of information, it appears like there's going to be more concrete poured on the ocean side of the wall. And I think concrete, you know, in any way on the ocean side attached to the wall is something that the state would never allow. The concrete slab up top is replacing something that's already there, so an argument can be made, even though it isn't the ideal thing, that it could be allowed. It's, now we're looking at the wall beach imprint that is a little bit more serious.
Right, but at the same time, for 45 years, we did have concrete stairs going down there.
I have
The neighbors-
photos from that day. I'll just pass
And
them
the
on.
neighbors next to us have concrete stairs going down, the neighbors next to them have concrete stairs going down. Because we're just replacing something.
Okay, so this is where the stairs are going down, the house is up here.
So this, I also moved the forms in a foot since, this was taken 2 weekends ago. So the work she was talking about, we moved this form back another foot.
And then
Thank you.
here is, the house is right here, and this is where it was over the rocks. And they said, bring it back.
Was there equipment on the wall?
No.
Did they? No.
No.
And
Can I
there was
see the
no
photos? They submitted this.
jackhammering or whatever on the wall?
No.
Right, okay.
Well, you can see by the pictures. I'm not a structural engineer, I'm a civil engineer, and I see no damage or impact to the wall whatsoever.
This is different than what we saw.
So like I said, that picture was taken 2 weekends ago, and then we were told to pull it off the rocks, which we did, another over a foot.
So the drawings that we have now represent what it's going to be
Yes.
ultimately?
Yep. And if you, when did we pull it back a foot? Last weekend, or? Yeah, so if you've been out there since last weekend, then you would have seen it was pulled back even further than that picture.
That's a rock here, and a rock here.
Right, that's before they
I mean,
I don't think that, from what I can see, and be it doubtful that these rocks were compromised by removing that old patio. I don't see that as being an issue.
Even with a jackhammer?
And now, look at this wall, look at the width and the breadth of that wall. Bringing a piece of equipment, I feel the same way, bringing something in to pull that up, I don't think,
I do know that if there were nothing there, we wouldn't be permitting a concrete slab here, to be honest with you.
but essentially, we're permitting something that was already there, but less of it.
So, but as Pat points out, I guess I wasn't aware that there was actually something that's poured down over the revetment, because that's something we're not encouraging any further. Things that usually go down towards the ocean are somewhat removable, just because they wind up either deteriorating or being problematic.
Yeah, the other issue on this too is when they were originally built, they were probably above the high tide line. The stairs were probably on a beach, and now, the way the tides are, it's, you know, each tide probably reaches them.
Well, no, we have this measured so that it'll be above the high water level. Obviously not a major superstorm level, but, you know, high water level. We stopped short of that.
Okay, so I'm trying to, are the pictures of what the concrete stairs are gonna be like, are they there? Is that gonna show the pictures, or? Because the aluminum piece of it, like the stairs end, and then the aluminum goes out further? So does the concrete, how many stairs, and then does it hit the beach? I mean, the concrete sits on? No?
Concrete stops, you know, probably 8 feet above the beach.
So,
They had stairs there.
right there.
That's where it stops.
The concrete would go to there, and that's where it was
No, actually, it was-
until now.
It was further.
Okay, and then the aluminum drops from there,
Right.
and you can get to a walking beach from there.
The water doesn't even reach the steps.
Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'll be right back.
So with these concrete, the way the concrete form's showing now, are you building just a ramp, or are you going to build steps into that form?
Originally, we were planning steps, but the contractor believes the ramp is better, just because it's easier to form.
From what this picture shows, so this concrete form would come out, it comes out up above the rocks, and then from there, they're going to attach.
No.
No.
It's gonna come-
It stops before the wood
Significant.
projects.
I'm not getting a good picture from these stairs at all.
It wouldn't be easier for people to walk on steps
is on the
rather than a
stairs.
sloping ramp?
It is on the,
Right, well, before we had, I think,
But they said
5
they pulled it back
steps,
another
like
foot.
5 long steps like this, and then a step, long step.
they're right.
We're actually still
there.
talking to the contractor.
See that wood coming down perpendicular? Okay. That's where they are.
He's done a lot of this concrete ramps before. He believes that's the best way to go. I was gonna take a level and just check the slope, make sure it's not too steep.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we wouldn't be allowing a ramp or anything poured on top of the seawall. Again, we would be reluctant to do impervious surface in a concrete patio at all in front of the house. But you have had one that's there, and the fact that you're moving it back is a benefit to this. But in terms of pouring a concrete, essentially it's a structure on top of the seawall or revetment, is something that we would not condition or permit anyplace else. And I really don't see that the commission can do that.
Yeah, I mean, we could actually separate the two activities and, view the slab as something that would be possible under an RDA, but I think I agree with Frank, as we start allowing concrete being poured on seawalls, we'll have the state, looking, at that in a bad way. We've had several concrete type of projects, and if it's a seawall, existing seawall, and you're making a repair, that's different, but to put forms on top of a revetment, a rock wall, or something like that, especially under an RDA.
Right. I'm ready to condition or allow the patio, but not the ramp on top of that. I think if you can figure out a way to do it naturally, either with some stones or come up with something that's removable, or we could take that up, I know that you've got to get a time constraint for family wedding and that. Sure. So we appreciate that, and we talked about that at the last meeting, and said if you could get this in, we'll work with you. But I guess I had no knowledge of this other piece that went on to it, and I don't think that we would permit that anywhere else.
I mean, yeah, we could certainly talk to DEP, and you'd be free to talk to them, but you'd get the same answer, that this wouldn't be allowed under an RDA. But, I mean, if we want to go ahead and separate the projects, figure out that piece of it later, and go for the slab now, have the guy that's got the forms up there pour, we could probably do that.
I spoke to on and over about your project, and explained to her what had come before us and what we were gonna try to work with. But I never heard this, the piece of this ramp that went down in there. It was strictly the patio.
Okay.
So can we carve out that piece in this permit?
We could, if...
Yeah.
We could approve the patio, condition it.
Right.
Approve the patio, condition it, and if you want to come back with some other
game plan
means of getting down, I know where we are, a lot of people have removable stairs. They pick them up in the winter when people aren't there. Works pretty well.
From your phone again?
And looks like, I haven't been there, I confess, but looks to me like it might be a little longer stair, but it could
I'm not
be
saying
done.
that there aren't some there, but we're not approving anymore, that's for sure.
Just a question, looking at those forms for the stairs, it looks like a pretty shallow pitch.
Yeah, it is.
Could you put, like, a lot of people put an aluminum gangplank like you use on a dock?
It's
You could, like, lay that right over the rocks and then roll it up in the
It's
winter.
deeper than that.
Okay, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's-
And the positive to that is you could take it in and
Yeah.
it wouldn't incur any damage and you wouldn't have to...
In the continuing education piece, who owns the riprap?
You guys probably own out to the low tide line there.
So you own essentially that piece of the stone wall, just like a seawall? Okay.
The other thing too is decisions that are made by the commission can be appealed to DEP. And if they rule differently, I think
patio piece.
We're trying to do the best thing for the harbor, and we're doing it based on the information we have. And we think that, some other type of way to get to the water would be something that we could approve. But, welcome to go to DEP. I'm pretty sure they would say file a notice of intent, and then you may or you may not get it, but...
So in order to get, if we were to do these aluminum steps, do we come back to this commission?
No.
We could write that in now even if you wanted to make it a condition. We would have to see the specs and, make sure they're not some Mickey Mouse kind of thing that's gonna fall apart.
Yeah, we could do that separate from the patio, we can proceed with the patio.
Proceed with the patio
And then, because we have to find someone to do that, we have the steps that, go down to the water, but we'd have to find
Somebody to
the
bridge the gap.
Right, right.
Yeah.
We can even write it in a way that if you choose to do some type of aluminum walkway.
Removable.
Right, removable or whatever, we wouldn't make you go back through another whole hearing. We could.
Right, it's subject to approval.
Subject to, right.
Right.
Exactly.
Same sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And then just attach the aluminum stairs.
Well, you'd need a railing, probably.
So you want a motion there, boss?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm okay to carve out the deck piece?
It'd be a -3, negative's good, positive's bad in this case,
Yeah.
-3, which
So-
would allow you to start work on the slab.
As it pertains to we're gonna make a
The
motion
slab.
for -3 on the patio/deck concrete slab, the way that it's written on the plans. And we're also gonna make some kind of allowance for
A condition.
stairs, a
Stairs.
condition to stairs, somewhere
Subject
down the
to our
line.
review, yeah.
Subject to, coming,
You got some
talk to you about.
sketch or spec or whatever, you get it to Pat, he can take a look
Yeah.
at it.
I've run
I
it by
second that
That was a motion, believe it or not.
Before we lose that.
He could run it by the building inspector and see if he thinks, oh yeah, that's the type that's used and that's acceptable, and,
Have those pictures, put them with this and give it to Pat.
All
right, so
we
I
have a
motion
second?
And I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, folks. Good luck at the wedding.
we haven't had any easy
Have
ones
nice weather.
tonight. Every one we have is a tricky one tonight.
Remind your contractor to, that if he's working right on the edge of the water, that
Go on the other side of your name.
he needs...
Yeah, you guys own, your family owns the other
side of the seawall.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, good luck.
Bye-bye.
Feely, 286 Central Ave. Do we have anybody?
finally got to this.
Have a issue?
Thank you.
Wow, you've been here through the whole thing.
On May 16, 2015, during the 6:15 meeting, the Town Hall of Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Richard J. Feely for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to remove and replace deck and pilings on property located at 286 Central Ave, Humrock. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Gentlemen?
Paul Armstrong.
Pierce Gallagher.
Sorry you're so late in the
Mike was
in
going
the
to call
evening.
you and tell you.
He should get points for sitting through this all night
Well, he
tonight.
told me about this one, yeah, but this one here I didn't know about.
Well, the only consolation is we've been discussing Humrock about all night, so.
I missed it all.
Where were you?
Driving filings.
I thought you were out in the hall before we started that.
I came in, I thought it was at 6, so I went back to work. Basically, 186 Central Ave was built after the 91 storm. It's an existing home on pilings, and it received a little bit of damage this winter from the front deck, but the existing walkway down the side was on sonotubes, and they just washed out. So I suggested to the owner just to drive pilings along the side. It was done by John Queen, who did the original plan. And there's a small deck on the front. He wants to continue it across the front, so they won't have any more impact on these storms at all. Just, it'll be a lot safer, mainly because we'll have the penetration. The existing home was permitted on piles. So there's no vegetation there, it's just all beach cobble, and just a matter of driving the piles and framing the deck.
Lisa, is this the one you took the pictures? This the one, 286?
I've taken pictures.
Because or maybe I saw them when you, Paul, they had all snapped off, all of them. Yeah, I had been out there. I think you might have sent pictures, Lisa.
Where am I?
It's just the elevated walkway down the side.
Yeah.
On the north side.
So
This is the street up here.
Yeah.
This is where he wants to put the walkway.
All those little circles of pilings.
Gotcha. So if the water's here, then really nothing is getting any closer to the water. Right? Gotcha.
No, it's all cobble and sand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very similar to all the abutting properties, what's there and so on.
No, I was there today.
Yeah.
Are more people choosing wooden pilings for decks out there rather than
Well, if you can get
sonotubes?
them, yeah, if you can get in there, yeah, it's a,
Yeah, that's right, you have to have the way to drop them down.
that, and you get the penetration too. So you don't have to worry about scarring and so on.
So if the deck is remaining, you really can't get under to do them?
Correct.
It has to be,
Unless
okay.
the healer coils or something else, so.
Oh, I just assumed they were all on driven piles.
That's the way life goes.
Bill?
How deep do you have them down?
About 15 feet.
I have a tertiary thing that I was there today, and I just noted that there is some rubble. I think there's an empty water tank or something like that. That stuff has to go. That's part of the deal. Because obviously it can float away and go elsewhere. And there was even some stuff, it looked like it's being almost stored under there with no restraints. Not much, but some. And it has to be restrained or it has to get out of there.
Sure. I used to think that we were intruding on people when we told them not to store stuff under their house, but after this last cleanup,
There's a
I'm ready to tell everybody they gotta put their name on everything.
Take a ride over to Grandview Ever, I'm building the house right now across the river, and see the debris that's over there.
Yeah.
Looks like bonfires.
It does.
30 feet high.
I went over there looking for my steps.
So it's people like you.
Yeah.
But the plan itself, I have no problem with.
Okay. Paul?
No questions.
Lisa? Patrick?
Nope, it's an improvement.
Anybody in the audience?
I don't know what.
Negative what?
3.
3.
It's the only number I know. I make a motion for a -3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So Paul, you got Nathan still running the pile driving truck?
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, good.
You're good.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
I'm here for the next one.
There's the next one.
Do we have a folder for that one?
Sorry, I get stuck here for 3 hours.
Sorry. It's educational.
I have pictures and plans if you don't have anything.
No, I think we have this.
Yeah.
So we just need this to.
Which one, 151?
Yeah, 151 and 153, they're side by side.
Sullivan, 151 Turner Road.
Yes, and Schwartz, 153.
Too big.
I gotta read them one at a time. On May 6, 2015, during the 6:15 meeting in the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Paul J. Sullivan for a determination of applicability in the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to remove and replace the deck on property located at 151 Turner Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. This is yours too?
It is now.
There you go.
Paul Armstrong, representing the 151 and 153 Turner Road. These homes were built right after the blizzard of '78.
Well, you know what, then let me read 153.
Okay.
On May 6, 2015, during the 6:15 meeting in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Donald Schwartz for determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetland bylaws to remove and replace a deck on property located at 153 Turner Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. There we go.
Can we do two at once?
We'll vote them separately, but
Oh,
we'll do them
okay,
together,
I
unless
see.
you want to be here all night.
No, just, it's education night.
You just got here.
It's educating night, yeah. No, I'm fine, I'm fresh.
You have pictures or?
No, but
I think I have some.
And some photos or?
That's all right. I'm sure the people aren't doing it for the fun of it.
No, it costs too much.
Yeah, just take the pictures.
Just real quick.
They got their butts kicked.
This is 153, the tan, and 151 is the gray. And even on the assessor's card, it shows the existing decks, everything's going back, exact same size, footprint, and so on. The Oceanside decks were compromised and they failed. A lot of it was the original pile frame. They were exposed to the weather, and they're the old creosote pile, and they just rotted out. They're not pressure treated like the new ones are. So basically, it's just being replaced exactly what's there, and just put it exactly what's back.
Like we need some help.
Yeah, you see what happened.
I've been there too.
So this is what it is, all cleaned up right now. And we need to remove the existing one, last couple piles of
Can you pull them with the pile driver?
No, I got them all with the little mini excavator. They weren't in that deep. Like I say, too, here's the assessor's card that shows the existing footprint, and that's exactly what's on the plan.
How far do they go down?
Pat, did you have any,
Above the, so below from the grade. Wow. Wow.
any other questions?
No, sir.
I'm good.
Good. Sir?
Your turn.
Make a motion for -3 for 151 Turner Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion for -3 on 153 Turner Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
What else you got now, Paul?
Paul.
You any more?
At least we did them all together for you.
Thank you.
That's it? That's all you got? No more projects?
Not yet.
Poor guy, he's been sitting here.
You're doing lot 31, right?
Yeah, actually, I gotta tell Pat, we're starting that in a few days.
Did you file yet?
Yeah, it's already permitted.
Oh, all right.
Your old buddy, Augie Bloomstein's lot.
Oh, boy.
I think that's Lisa's,
Lisa's buddy.
yes. Do you want those photos, Paul?
Yeah, I just gotta give them back to the guy if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
Pull those out of
Yeah,
the...
they're in there.
Okay. Mr. Berwick, what do you,
Come on up.
Supposed to be here, but...
One second before you go, you're walking away.
Yep.
CSC for 17 New Driftway?
Correct. That's you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
See you, Paul.
Be back in 1 second.
17 New Driftway.
Oh, we're doing the
This is where the burger bar...
Is that down by the...
river.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the fire.
Gal dance
Yeah.
studio when you
River
come...
Shed.
Oh, okay.
River Shed.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Tom Dorf's.
I wasn't familiar with it, yeah. I know his old kid is a lot better.
Not doing anything without him, so we're stuck.
I haven't been in there yet.
organic food in there.
Good?
Makes me happy, yes.
They're the same people that own Riva.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Correct. Okay, so Pat, where are we?
Okay, it was Greg, right? Greg Morse came in and sent a letter about a certificate of compliance request because they're going to be refinancing.
Correct.
So I went out there, this is where the little, Pizza Hut.
Yeah, I know where.
Yeah, the ice hut, okay. And there was,
It backs up right to the river.
there was an as-built plan that was pretty close, and, some plantings got destroyed over the winter, but most of it looked the same. There was an area that looked like it was supposed to be crushed shell is now paved, so I had some questions about that. But when I went to look at the original file, the approved plan didn't have these two structures on it. It had the original stuff. So I'm like, oh, did they come back to us for the Pizza Shack and the Ice Shack? So then I was scrambling on, and late today I found another file. So I started to go through it, but the plans that you gave me, was this set here, showed both. Correct. Well, maybe we can show these guys what it was.
So what was holding up the okay in the first place?
Well, it just came in. So I said.
This is when you settle COCs.
When there's closing.
Yeah, is that, they look, right.
Not when the project's done.
Right.
Yeah. So, the plan I had was just missing a couple of the buildings, but this plan here shows it. So I told Bob that, it may be that we can get some letter to him before the day that he refinances, which is the 20th, we'd say. But I didn't know if we'd have all the information and everything for a vote tonight on this.
What is Greg's,
I have that. Here is what I got on this is what I had on the approved plan for the original order of conditions. But it shows this building, and it doesn't show the ice building. And then at some point they before my time, they may have come back with another one showing the pizza and then the ice. And then the as-built shows both.
I did bring you the...
I think it's the next page, right?
The plan, here it is, here's the ice house.
Oh, okay.
Just walk up, food service building trailer, yeah.
And it might have
So it was Jimmy Burke that was doing the original stuff, right?
Correct.
Yeah, right.
so how much variation does Greg's letter say, Pat?
Well, he says it's in, pretty much in compliance. So this is the as-built.
What's the date on this one? 7/27/11.
Okay, so this is saying seashells here. And I think it's, it's paved beyond the pizza building.
This shows the edge of pavement.
This end is gravel, and the edge of the pavement is this.
This is the edge of pavement.
So this remained all gravel.
This is not paved. This is all gravel.
What am I looking at? It looked paved, I thought, where I was, but there definitely areas all shells.
Yeah.
A bunch of shell there. Okay,
So there's nothing that further encroaches.
Seashell.
yeah.
Down by the seashore.
What's that?
Actually, what I recall, I haven't been in there I go by there all the time, but I haven't been in there for a while.
Yeah, where is the paved area then on here?
Right
Over
here,
here.
edge of pavement.
Right.
Right near this, and you can see this on that other drawing, this little island.
It's paved and the pavement goes up to the dance studio.
Like this.
Which is
Yeah,
pretty damn
because there's
close.
pavement on the other side of the ice house.
sorry?
There's pavement on the other side of the ice house.
No, there's no pavement around the ice house. This is all crushed stone, seashells.
All right. And this date on this is
5/1.
Oh, okay. So this line changes a little bit. So this shed said that the gravel was sort of gonna come off of here.
Right.
And it's up here.
Yeah.
And then this runs across like it's supposed to.
Which is pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say Craig's as-built is pretty close to complying.
They actually added another swale here, right, Bob? No, this, I guess that's the same.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the date on this one?
This is
Revised
7/27/11.
Yeah, well, 27.
There's a revision date there.
That's the 27.
Yeah.
The original was the 5th.
Yeah.
Then the 27 is the revision.
So then this one says, says paved stone permeable, and he's saying there's a stone dust path. And they're calling it paved stone permeable, and he's got a seashell patio. I mean, they're basically the same.
Okay, so on here, if I film this continues up to here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then this is the crushed stone here? Okay. And this is all shell wall. Okay,
And all the parking along the ice house is seashell.
okay. These things in here? Are they like these, or- There's a fence, you have a fence down here,
There's a
right?
fence, and then there's shrubs all in front of the fence.
Okay.
And I continued them all the way along the fence.
Okay. What we could do is, we could vote contingent upon this being the way
Just
it
verifying
looks.
a couple of things.
Yeah.
Fine.
And then I could put a statement in there, a couple of plants have to be replaced.
Yep.
And if it looks like there's a
The
big
winter
area-
killed a couple of the plants.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, it killed a lot of my
crushed.
stuff in my yard.
Yeah, it looked like the snowplow, you know, and it took it.
And I'll replace those.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the rest of it looked good, so if I have anything,
Forever?
I'll let you know.
Forever.
All right.
All right, I'll go up there.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's fairly,
Yeah, the condition, I pulled out the order of conditions. There were a whole, you guys might have been around for this, there was riverfront.
Yeah, I remember this. You remember this, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They talked about a rain garden here, and a typical rain garden. But, I mean, there was a swale with plantings.
I think, Pat, there's another piece to this, that, you know, the town had their hand in this piece, and it wasn't pretty.
Pump station or something? Oh, really?
No, the contractor for the town doing this made an awful mess.
Oh, after you owned it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
After the sewer was installed.
And they had to come back out and correct that, and it was on Bob's property, but
What's that big tank there, just as a matter of interest?
It's a pump station. Town Scituate.
Yeah, we were talking about the knotweeds trying to grow back. It looked like it was eliminated, and it's already starting to take root. It's,
I worked in this place when I was in high school, or junior high school.
How long ago
in
was
a
that?
paint store.
Right.
Paint store?
18,
Yeah, but I'm like maybe in 74.
I wasn't there then.
it was, he was
And we were
mixing
fighting
the
those
paint by
damn
hand.
knotweeds
Then, huh?
back then. It was a yard for contractor Ken Gawley, and he must have hauled material in over the years and dumped it and everywhere.
Yeah, the beautification committee is always talking about this area, you know, like all along that stream. It's
You
all
couldn't-
knotweed and
I can't, I'm not even gonna tell you what we tried to kill it with.
Oh, yeah.
No, don't. Okay, so,
I think they couldn't pedal in the paint store.
That's when they used to drive a truck down the road and spray the dirt road with oil to keep the dust out.
Whatever you did, it was not successful.
I remember that. That's right.
Yeah.
Pack, and the thing is, the guy gave me, one of those size there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can do this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so,
mean,
Yeah.
with these conditions, I mean, do you guys remember these being part of the whole thing? Because
I wasn't on that.
I looked through the order.
It is adjacent to the Herringbrook, and
Yep.
Right.
I think that this piece got planted out, which wasn't there before. This was gravel right
Right.
over to here. So they created this grass area.
and then they put a patio on, what, a couple years ago, right?
Patio was adjacent to the restaurant.
Right, yep.
So you don't recall a rain garden then that was required on here then? It doesn't, can't find anything on the plan.
Actually, the town did this as part of the sewer mitigation.
Right.
Right. You also were involved with the MBTA stuff. Were they supposed to keep the knotweed down as part of it?
Well, there was, I don't know that it was this specific area. The MBTA's knotweed was more around the Rotary, in front of the Jacob Hatch building, and some other areas there. I'm not sure they addressed,
Well, they did come in for a couple of years and treat the knotweed.
did they on your slope
Oh, yeah.
as well?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that was part of the mitigation
Yeah,
with
it'd be
them.
nice if they had to do it for
Is it ongoing?
perpetuity, yeah.
Probably should be, but it's coming.
with that.
Yeah. It's on the same schedule as the train.
Yeah, but it's coming back strong.
All right, you guys want to vote, and then if there's anything
That's
we can talk
missing.
about, like if there's something you have to do, we'll just agree to do it, and then
Yep.
give you the CC.
I'm good with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Make a motion for a -3 with whatever.
This is
No,
just-
yeah,
No.
going back to the
Stop.
old ones.
Whoops, hold on. Oh, certificate of compliance, that's right, yeah.
Subject to Pat's review with
Yes.
Bob,
Yeah,
that there's nothing blatant or outstanding that's
Paul
missing.
made that.
right,
Okay?
Paul made that motion and I seconded it.
all right. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
at Pat's will, Bob.
One of these was this one? I believe it's one of these.
Make sure you keep all the evidence, Pat.
That's right. All right.
Sorry, I still
Just take everything.
Yes, it's supposed to. There was another folder today at about 4.
That's just extra.
Are there any other certificates of
No,
compliance?
that's it.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
You have any questions on this? We kept him here for 3 hours. Which one? Nope, that's on. Oh. Yeah. I can do that.
Whoever's sitting in the back.
I'll take mine. If I have any questions, I'll
Okay, you've got my-
The big guy?
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Yeah, all right.
Who was it?
He was the guy, the first guy.
Paul Armstrong.
No, the guy that was with Paul.
Gal.
Yeah.
Oh, Pierce Gallagher, okay. Thank you.
How much, sorry, I'm thinking, but how much more is left on the agenda for tonight?
Probably we're gonna go into executive session at the end, and we're not
Yeah.
gonna come back out. So
I'm
you're
just gonna, let me give you an estimate on minutes, maybe kayak project of Boy Scouts,
If you just
maybe
wanna-
15 minutes, and then we go into
If
executive.
you want to go, you just show me how to shut it off, I'll do it.
Oh, no, it's okay.
All right.
I'll survive, it's okay.
We're hanging on for dear life, too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
So,
RDA Clap Road, this was the deck next to a porch. They have no recollection of an agreement to have the trampoline removed. So I'm going to go back into the original order, which goes back several years, and I'll pull it out of there, and I will get it to them. Up to now, I've emailed them, and they said, oh, we thought we'd do what we had to do, but there's something about honoring a certain buffer. And it seems like an easy thing to pick up a trampoline and move it, so.
It's been going on since I've been on the board.
So we're gonna continue that how at 92 Clap Road?
This one will be straightened out by the 20th. There'll be either that or another step we have to take.
No. So how at 92 Clap Road for an RDA? Put it up right at the top.
Okay, then there was a violation at...
And you heard Pat say that he's gonna have this done by the...
He's gonna tie his truck to it and drag it out.
If he gets his truck back.
Our secretary has that down.
Yeah. Penny, Frank, and Carol all drive by this every day, so this will be an easy one to keep track of, you know.
Okay.
6 Atlantic, this was right next to where Rosemary's house is, that Barrett comes up, and then there's the doctor's house at the end, and he had all the stones one year removed out of there, and then this year added to there, so, but he built a berm in front, and then someone appears to have taken the stones. So we got the report, and the police went out there and stuff. And then the house to the next to them is number 6, and they have just built a big area in front on the beach side with sand and stone and who knows, and it could be some of the same material. So we wrote a violation letter to the property owner, and he's in Florida, and he hasn't been up here in 5 months. He said, I just called the contractor and told him to, you know, move stuff out front. So he claims to know nothing about it. So I have the contractor's name, and I'll talk to him. The other person will be up here from Florida before Memorial Day.
The other project, had they filed with us?
No, they're gonna have to, though. It'll be an after-the-fact filing, so.
Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a big area. It's from me to you, and it's sand and stone, but there could even be some kind of big revetment boulders underneath that, you know, we need to find out about.
Okay.
So he'll be up, and we can, I wouldn't put it on for the next meeting, maybe the one after that, maybe June 3rd? Is that the?
All right, well, we don't have to mark that.
All right, no, I'll get back to you between now and then.
6 Atlantic.
Okay.
The Damon Wood Clearing, I think that's the path off a Clap, and you come in, and to the right, it's behind an abutter's house.
You know what, Pat, I didn't get a chance to get there today. I will take a look. Rosemary, did you have something you wanted to comment on?
Oh,
No, I was waiting for
Yeah.
Okay.
6 Atlantic, I didn't know what the...
Yeah, we talked to the property owner this week, so he got our letter, so. And we have to get in touch with the doctor and
People quake in fear when they get
who have
letters
been
from us.
easy to deal with on this.
Have you talked to the contractor?
I have his name and number. I talked to the owner yesterday. I'll talk to the contractor, though.
Okay.
I have his name. He's a Marshfield guy.
Yeah, well, file an enforcement order or whatever
Joe
we have to.
Well, we sent the violation letter, and then that can be the next thing, unless they say, gee, I'm sorry, I'll take it out, or I'll file, you know?
Okay.
So.
So I did see those pictures, but that house is really like another lot away from that access road, so I don't think anybody's been doing any work in back of there. I think it looks to me like it's just stuff that's fallen. I will walk around in back there and
They know your mother and your sister and you, you better get out there, yeah.
No, they're old neighbors.
Yeah.
It's not really adjacent to that. The town may now own the land behind it, but I doubt like heck there's been any activity back there. Maybe at one time they tried to do some perking.
Okay.
But it's kind of doubtful, and it's not, the main access that's gonna go to Damon is much further up the street.
Oh, this isn't the main one then, huh? Okay.
No, there's just another little piece that fronts there, but there's, on Clap Road, there's another home, and then there's this one. So if this is Clap Road, here's that access road, there's a home.
Oh, in
on the
between.
lot.
So they're way down, yeah.
The piece that she had is like way out here, so
Okay.
I don't really know how that would impact, but I'll take a look,
All right.
you know? It just
No,
may-
West End Rowdy's cutting stuff down.
Yeah.
you know.
It looks to me like, the picture that you sent me looks more like just old rotted trees, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carol sent out some information about a special needs summer program that we were involved with last year, and they're gonna be doing again this summer.
Yep.
And did you get an email on that from Carol?
Might have sent that.
Okay, or it's in
We definitely will
correspondence.
support it.
Yeah, that was our only good meeting last year, so I'm also supportive.
Let's do it again.
Yeah. No, that's great, and we're so happy that they're willing to continue to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, the parents have called up a couple of times after saying how great it was for everybody, so.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So let us know if they need somebody to go out there with them or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, sure, you don't want to go out in the tough ones, you want to go out on that.
No, I'll go, yeah, I stood beside the pond while you were in it.
Bill heard there were girls.
We should smell my car, the boots.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
They went in there on a hot day, and nasty. Hey, here's another Boy Scout one.
Yeah.
Go through you or not?
He's been talking to me, I think I asked you about this at one point.
Yeah, you did, I didn't know the kid talked to you.
He did the original Driftway cleanup a couple years ago for his life badge.
Oh, wow.
And then he was looking for a Eagle project, and they live in Minot.
Oh, okay.
And
This would be
so
cool.
they asked about the possibility of building this kayak launch, and it's sort of off the town parking lot.
Yeah.
And I think
boys
you and
at
I
work.
talked about that. I said, geez, I really wasn't sure who had jurisdiction over the parking lot itself, and I believe he went to both rec and DPW.
Yeah, I would have recommended that, yeah.
And so this is where he's at. Do we need to ask him, what do we want to ask him to file, an RDA or?
File something, yeah. I mean, if it's gonna be a couple of posts, you know, in the edge of the marsh, it probably could be an RDA.
The thing is that this is the place, you know, his pictures are unbelievable, but
They're
it's the
really good,
yeah, but what we've been asking for is for the town to do something with the edge of that parking lot to slow down the runoff.
Where's this?
Minor. It's Minor parking lot.
Bailey's Causeway?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They did some work on the pavement.
Yeah.
And one of the things we asked for is to stop the scouring.
Right.
And the runoff from that parking lot
Yep.
goes directly, we
Into
wouldn't
the-
let anybody else build a parking lot.
Right.
Right.
It's right on that river or whatever it is
Nothing,
in the
and the
back,
water from
yeah.
that parking lot just scoots right into the marsh.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's a-
that's,
But that's the area where he'd like to do that, so the only thing we should take a look at, Pat, and make sure that, like, where he's building it
What does he want to do?
isn't gonna be subject
Kayak ramp.
to some other changes.
oh, definitely, yeah.
So maybe
Right, have to,
we could take I'll
should
try
we
to,
invite him in
why don't,
to talk it
you know what,
over?
I'll go back out and take a look, because I wasn't sure exactly where he's proposing it.
Give me a call, I'll meet you down there. You want?
You know, I'll try, oh, Ron,
You
yeah.
Yeah, we got-
I was just to say how good Sean was on DPW.
He was
Yeah.
terrific.
Yeah.
So, I think we want to endorse this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
We definitely would, this would be great.
Yeah. What I was thinking, the contact should be with the kid too. I've had the father call me and the father email me, you know, it's an Eagle project, let's let the kid,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
that's part of the experience, I think.
I get two sets of emails on all these scout projects. I get email from the kids and I get
Fair enough.
yeah, I feel like copying them, but I don't want to.
That's great they cleaned up down.
So why don't we bring them in, like, the other kids, and
Well,
take
we-
a picture and put it on the
I think what-
website?
Yeah.
I think I told
Oh, well,
them,
yeah,
I took
yeah.
pictures of the cleanup. You know what we ought to do is,
Yeah.
let's do the part of the
just-
meeting that has to be done so that she
Oh,
can
yeah.
wrap it up.
Yeah, and I want to,
Yeah.
Okay?
no, that's
Oh.
okay. But before we break, oh no, do you still have more?
Yeah, just a couple of little ones. Frank, you want to take this with you?
Sure.
All right, I have the father's email. I'll email him and tell
I got
him.
him.
Oh, you got his? Okay.
I got everything.
Okay, what's next?
All right, let me just walk to my chair and go as fast as I can. Here, put this clip on there. Lisa Jones.
I'm hungry.
All right. Another scout want to do tables and benches.
Yeah, I can't, I got a thing on that, but I don't remember where it was.
Okay, that's a quick one then.
Yep.
We revised the Toll Brothers ORAD next.
I'll copy you. I've got the new Scoutmaster's email address, and there's a woman that's with him.
Is it Jack something?
That's the old Scoutmaster.
Oh.
And that's the father of the.
Oh, okay.
There's a new Scoutmaster, and he was at that cleanup, along with a woman that's sort of doing the correspondence for the scout troop. So I've got all of those, and I took some pictures while we were there, and I'm gonna get the names so that we can shoot something into the Mariner.
Oh, good.
And we'll.
That's
start-
good. That'll be good.
I mean, they were, like, again, I said, everybody that pitched in just did great. I've also got a picture of the Boy Scouts that Mike sent me. So we'll make sure
That's
that
good.
everybody gets thanked.
That seemed to be the worst area of marsh outside of Hummer. I mean, you had your own bad area too, but that was a bad area. So, that's good.
This is terrific that these kids do this.
It was unbelievable, the amount, I mean, they really all jumped in. I hope half of them don't have poison ivy.
Yeah, snake bites and ticks. The CAC membership, they're looking for Community Advisory Commission members. Nancy heard lately that it may get bumped back to the fall because it might have to go to a town meeting vote to establish it, but I thought that they went through something at the last town meeting that allowed it.
So she told me, she was at the meeting the other night, they had a workshop on trying to promote people to join town boards.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the write-up of that commission is here.
She already called me.
You're already applying?
Yeah.
Good. Because we need to have a representative.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest. Well, there's actually 2 or 3 people in this room tonight were interested, and maybe another commission member, you never know.
So, it's a good project.
Yeah, this is, Frank doesn't want to take this one on.
No, I mean, it's good. It's huge.
Yeah.
I'm offering, she called me, I said, sure.
And Maura's one of the main people for recruiting and probably recommending people.
Yeah.
All I know is I walked into the door and she said, what took you so long, so.
Oh,
Tree cutting off clap.
There was one...
Knotweed, Scott project.
The one big one that's been going on lately is Appleton Field, Crosby. There was a police incident, I guess, yesterday. Somebody, according to Mr. Buca, cut all the deer fencing out there. So he called the police, and the police went out, and they took pictures, and they were going to send them to us for the meeting tonight, but they didn't get them here. But sounds like there's an ongoing battle, but we can't, I mean, the police can do something if they know who did it. We can't do anything on a police matter.
The property, I mean, the property is under our care and custody. It's owned by the town of Scituate. It's under our care and custody. We licensed Mr. Buca to use the field. I sympathize with him. I mean, I feel bad. It's not an easy thing what he's doing to try to grow some crops there. Unfortunately, I don't believe part of our agreement is that we're gonna, it's the Scituate police that are gonna have to investigate any kind of vandalism.
Right.
And I don't know what else we can do about it. We are gonna have a bigger problem there in that we're gonna wind up, he's not gonna have access to that field for a period of time through the old road, because we got a 6 months agreement. And then the town with all the storms and everything never got this back to the engineer. So there's no way we're gonna have the new access road.
That's going to be, that's going to be an issue. The other thing that we talked about is there, through CPC or whatever, does the town do any funding of maintenance of these properties? So they help out with whatever, you know?
We can talk about that, and we can, and he can apply. I mean, he talked about doing some kind of wind tunnels or some sort of greenhouse thing a couple of years ago. But we're done.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, it sound like it's really gotten bad.
Well, maybe, you know, I know.
And he doesn't like to come to public meetings. I've invited him, you know, I said, but.
Well, maybe you and I'll have to, I know that it's not like we don't have enough things to do, but at least one other member and myself is gonna have to sit down with him and.
Yeah. And if the idea is, you know, we have an agricultural field that we want to maintain, there should be a use of public funds that you could do something up there.
They can, but
you'd be opening it up to anybody, just like the one across the street.
I suggested that, well, I think let's, it's not, tonight's too late to delve into that.
Okay.
Okay. So if we're all set with our regular meeting.
Yeah, I just want to, before we go off air, I wanted to thank the Scituate hockey team for their help on Chip Ship Day. I was down at our beach and cleaning up, and we were getting a little hot and tired, and then 4 young gentlemen came, rolled up and with their bags and began to scour the beach with us. So I told them that I would give them a shout out on on camera and thank them very much for their participation.
Excellent.
Great job.
It's
And Mike-
invigorating.
And Mike Breen for rounding them up.
Yep.
Do they look like this?
I get it.
So most from Georgina?
They're big kids. Yeah.
Hockey team.
Photography, yeah. All right, so are we done?
Yep, motion to adjourn.
So, no.
Yep.
So
No.
what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into
Oh, you
executive
have to say
session.
that.
Okay.
And,
Be coming out.
so,
Oh, that's right.
we're going to go into executive session for the purpose of
It's on the agenda right under the notices.
Discuss and consider the purchase.
purchase, exchange, or lease of value of real property because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the commission's negotiating position. The board will not return to a regular session. So it needs to be a roll call vote to go into executive session. So I'm just gonna, Bill?
Present.
Present, Richard.
Present, Paul.
Present, Lisa.
President Frank. Okay. So we will not return to open meeting, so you can,
I started off.
yep.
Thank you.
Take us off the air.
Good night.
So while she's doing that,